Yi Hongyu sat up from the sofa, his back soaked with cold sweat. Harsh scarlet light flickered across the television screen as the female anchor's voice looped over and over again. Breaking news. Multiple citizens exhibiting suspected rabies symptoms emerged across the city in the early hours, with 3 people attacked and bitten on public streets. Police have cordoned off several districts for the time being. Residents are advised to stay indoors and take protective measures. The footage cut to staff in full protective gear rushing stretchers into a hospital. The man strapped to the stretcher convulsed violently, letting out low, guttural growls while pitch-black blood vessels bulged across his neck. According to incomplete statistics, confirmed infections with identical symptoms have exceeded 1,000 cases worldwide. Specialists warn this affliction is extremely contagious. Civilians are urged to remain confined to their homes. Yi Hongyu stared rigidly at the TV screen, his fingers gradually clenching into tight fists. This was not rabies. This was the final official broadcast maintaining social order right before the full outbreak of the zombie virus. The news report continued in the background. In addition, meteorological authorities have issued a global severe cold front alert. Temperatures in many regions will plummet to sub-zero levels within the next 7 days. Citizens are recommended to stock up on warm clothing and daily necessities in advance. Reserves of drinking water, food, medical supplies, and power equipment are advised to avoid disruptions to daily life amid extreme weather. Yi Hongyu snatched his phone off the coffee table as the screen lit up. Early April. He fixed his gaze on the date for a long moment, his breathing growing heavy and labored. He was back. He had truly returned. In his past life, the entire city had fallen in less than 3 days once the zombie virus ran rampant. Malls were ransacked bare, supermarkets smashed to ruins, and piles of corpses lined pharmacy entrances. Water, electricity, and cellular networks collapsed entirely. People who would haggle over the price of a single pack of instant noodles in normal times would stab their neighbors to death for a single bottle of mineral water. Yet the zombies were only the beginning. A brutal cold snap sealed the city off. Floods submerged entire city blocks. Successive earthquakes tore open the ground, and solar flares fried every piece of electronic equipment. Later, prehistoric behemoths slumbering deep underground clawed their way to the surface. And finally, extraterrestrial mechanical life forms descended upon Earth. Yi Hongyu could still clearly recall the day the world crumbled apart. Hiding inside an abandoned office building, he peered through cracked floor-to-ceiling windows and watched a jellyfish-shaped mechanical entity hundreds of meters tall break through the Earth's crust. Its massive tentacles swept across the city streets without pause. Entire high-rises crumpled instantly. Countless survivors were crushed to a bloody pulp beneath the rubble that he ran for his life with everything he had, yet he ultimately perished amid the wreckage. Damn it, Yi Hongyu muttered under his breath, pressing his palm against his forehead. What good was being sent back in time? This was an apocalyptic annihilation-level disaster. Stockpiling extra sacks of rice or crates of bottled water would never be enough to survive what was coming. He had just gotten a second shot at life, only to face the same crushing despair all over again. Ding! A frigid mechanical voice suddenly echoed inside his mind. Rebirth prerequisites detected and fulfilled. Team talent multiplier system successfully activated. Yi Hongyu jerked his head upward in shock. A translucent holographic panel materialized directly in front of his eyes. System instructions. The host may recruit individuals with professional talents to form a team. All professional talents possessed by teammates will be duplicated at double potency for the host. Higher professional compatibility between member and team grants stronger copied talents. All team members share a life bond with the team captain. Yi Hongyu's pulse quickened sharply as he read the final line of text. Team formation. Copied talents. Double power. What mattered most in the end times? Food, clean water, secure shelter, and trustworthy people capable of staying alive alongside you. Alone, he could never defend his supplies, let alone endure the string of catastrophic events looming ahead. But if he gathered the most skilled professionals from every industry into his party and doubled all their abilities, he had a chance. The despair weighing on Yi Hongyu's features faded little by little. This time around, he just might stand a fighting chance. A sharp knocking sound rang out against the front door. Yi Hongyu, are you home? A clear female voice came from the hallway. It's time to pay this month's rent. Yi Hongyu walked over and pulled open the security door. A young woman stood outside the doorway. She wore a crisp white blouse tucked neatly into a tailored black midi skirt, paired with sheer black hosiery and formal leather heels. Her facial features were striking and her demeanor sharp and efficient, clutching a rent receipt booklet. This was Zhang Yu, the landlady of the entire rental building. Though relatively young, Zhang Yu owned multiple residential properties across the city. Yi Hongyu had envied her stable livelihood in his previous life. Once the zombie outbreak hit, this entire apartment complex turned into a zombie nest, and Zhang Yu perished amid the initial chaos. Name: Zhang Yu. Occupation: Tier 1 Architect. Professional compatibility: Extremely high. Invitation to join team available. Yi Hongyu's gaze locked onto the words Tier 1 Architect. An architect. In the apocalypse, safe shelters were more valuable than gold itself. Zhang Yu frowned and waved a hand in front of his face to snap him out of his daze. What are you staring at? Yi Hongyu snapped back to reality and blurted out a question. You're an architect? Zhang Yu stared at him in bewilderment. What's gotten into you today? She gave him a slow once-over, her tone laced with exasperation. I told you I work as an architect last month. You even asked me back then if architects only spend their days drawing blueprints. Yi Hongyu cleared his throat awkwardly. I'd forgotten. You have an awfully bad memory. Zhang Yu flipped open her receipt booklet and picked up her pen. When are you settling this month's rent? Yi Hongyu ignored her question, his gaze drifting past her shoulder toward the dim corridor. The motion-sensing lights at the far end flickered erratically on and off. Slow, dragging footsteps echoed closer. Thud, thud. Zhang Yu heard the noise as well and glanced backward. Did someone in the building get dead drunk? The footsteps drew nearer by the second, before a hoarse, feral roar exploded through the hallway. Rhea! A building security guard lurched out from the stairwell entrance. Half his face was torn open, his eyes rolled back. Fresh blood and flesh dangled from his jaw. The moment he spotted Zhang Yu, he lunged straight for her without hesitation. Zhang Yu's face drained of all color in an instant. Ah! Her heels slipped on the hallway floor, sending her stumbling backward. Yi Hongyu stepped forward, grabbing her wrist and yanking her into his chest. Zhang Yu collided against his torso, rigid with terror. Don't move, Yi Hongyu ordered in a low, solemn voice. His other hand closed around a baseball bat propped against the doorframe, an item he had bought long ago for self-defense, never once having reason to use it until now. The zombie closed in, its jaws slacking open to unleash a putrid stench straight into their faces. Yi Hongyu dodged its charge sideways and swung the bat with all his strength. Crash! The wooden bat connected violently with the zombie's temple. The creature's head snapped sideways, yet its feet kept shuffling forward as its hands flailed wildly. Zhang Yu clamped a hand over her mouth, too terrified to make a single sound. A dark look settled over Yi Hongyu's features. One blow had not killed it. This zombie had already begun mutating. He raised the bat and struck again. Crash! A third brutal swing landed home. Crash! The zombie's skull split wide open, splattering blood and brain matter across the hallway walls before its body crumpled heavily to the ground. Zhang Yu clung tightly to the hem of Yi Hongyu's shirt, her fingertips bleached white from her vice grip. What's wrong with him? Has he lost his mind completely? Yi Hongyu released her wrist and stared down at the corpse on the floor. He's not insane. He's turned into a zombie. Zhang Yu lifted her head, her lips trembling visibly. A zombie? That's something only seen in movies. How can it be real? The news only labeled these people rabies patients. Yi Hongyu met her frightened gaze steadily. What the news reports say means nothing. The hard truth is zombies are already here. Zhang Yu's breathing quickened rapidly as she stared back at the motionless corpse. The security guard's fingers still twitched faintly, shreds of flesh caught underneath his fingernails. Her stomach lurched violently, and she leaned against the wall, retching heavily. Yi Hongyu waited for her nausea to subside for a few seconds before speaking plainly. Within the next 3 days, this entire city will descend into total anarchy. Zombies will multiply endlessly, all food supplies will be looted, and ordinary human survivors will pose an even greater threat than the undead. Panic flooded Zhang Yu's eyes. How could you possibly know all this? Did you have advance warning this disaster would happen? Yi Hongyu chose not to reveal his rebirth. No one would ever believe such a fantastical truth if he spoke it aloud. Trust me just this once. He raised his hand, and the holographic system panel reappeared before him. I'm extending an invitation for you to join my team. Zhang Yu could not see the floating interface, only watching Yi Hongyu gesture toward empty air with a confused expression. What on earth are you talking about? Join me, and I guarantee your survival. Yi Hongyu spoke in a calm, unwavering tone. You're free to walk away right now if you refuse. Zhang Yu glanced at the mangled corpse, then toward the empty, silent stairwell. The horrific attack she had just witnessed was burned into her mind, yet her legs felt rooted to the floor, unable to take a single step away. I'll join you. Ding. Zhang Yu has confirmed team membership. Team formation successful. Teammate talent unlocked. Special brass underground shelter. Current shelter area, 200 square meters. Host receives doubled talent amplification effect. Host obtains 400 square meter ultra-high hardness underground shelter. The shelter is equipped with radiation shielding and high-impact defensive properties. Shelter can be expanded and reinforced as team level increases. A surge of shock washed over Yi Hongyu. 400 square meters, with built-in radiation and impact resistance. This was far more than a simple safe room. Zhang Yu. Close your eyes and visualize a secure underground space in your mind. Bewilderment clouded Zhang Yu's face. What exactly are you asking me to do? Just follow my instructions. She studied his face for a long moment before slowly shutting her eyes. The air at the center of the living room twisted and distorted the very next second, and a pitch-black entrance materialized out of thin air. Zhang Yu's eyes flew open with a gasp, dropping her rent booklet onto the floor. What is this place? Yi Hongyu stepped into the passage first. Beyond the entrance stretched a vast, empty chamber with dull golden metal walls and smooth, clean flooring. The space was unfurnished and devoid of supplies, yet radiated an overwhelming sense of safety. Zhang Yu lingered at the threshold, hesitant to step forward. Come inside. Yi Hongyu called over his shoulder. This will be our safe haven for surviving everything ahead. Zhang Yu bit her lower lip and stepped into the shelter in her formal heels. She ran a palm along the solid wall surface, her hand trembling slightly. Did I create this space with my own ability? In a manner of speaking. But I've never had any awareness that I possessed such power. With the end times upon us, all sorts of abnormal abilities will awaken within people. Yi Hongyu scanned the vacant shelter space. Stay here and learn how to open and seal the shelter entrance. Zhang Yu blinked in surprise. What about you? I'm going out to stockpile supplies. Monsters are roaming the streets outside. How can you head out now? Yi Hongyu tightened his grip on the baseball bat. In a few more days, we won't have any opportunity to leave this shelter at all. This underground bunker cannot feed us on its own. Zhang Yu fell silent, noticing the bloodstains smudged across Yi Hongyu's shoulder, her voice softening. Can you handle this alone? I will make it back safely. Yi Hongyu turned to leave the shelter. Do not open the door for any strangers under any circumstances. Zhang Yu stood rooted to the ground, watching his retreating back. Yi Hongyu. He glanced back at her. Zhang Yu clenched her hands tightly, her expression heavy with tangled worry. Don't get yourself killed out there. Yi Hongyu nodded once, and the shelter entrance vanished immediately. Without wasting another second, he headed straight for the warehouse attached to the nearest shopping mall. Chaos had already erupted outside the mall gates. Crowds of people fled the supermarket carrying bulging bags and armfuls of goods. Others frantically loading cases of bottled water into their personal vehicles. A handful of security guards blocked the main entrance, straining desperately to restore order. Stop pushing each other. Queue up to pay for your items properly. I'll call the police if anyone continues looting. No one in the panicked crowd paid their warnings the slightest heed. Yi Hongyu circled around to the side entrance and slipped into the warehouse zone through the staff-only passage. As soon as he stepped into the storage facility, a shrill scream cut through the air. Somebody help me. A young female employee was trapped against a row of shelving, her face ashen with terror. She wore the mall's intern uniform with a name tag pinned to her chest reading Su Shanshan. Directly in front of her stood a male co-worker whose skin had turned an ashen gray, his neck jerking unnaturally from side to side. Brother Lu. Su Shanshan's voice shook uncontrollably. Stay back. I'll go get help right now. The infected man did not respond with words. He lunged forward instantly, jaw snapping to sink his teeth into Su Shanshan's neck. Su Shanshan squeezed her eyes shut, bracing for the impact. Crash! A baseball bat swung in from the side, slamming hard into the back of the man's skull. His body lurched sideways, knocking over 2 full cartons of milk. Yi Hongyu did not pause his assault, lifting the bat to strike a second time. Crash! The man's skull caved in completely, and his body collapsed lifelessly onto the concrete floor. Su Shanshan opened her eyes to see Yi Hongyu standing over the corpse, blood dripping steadily from the end of his baseball bat. Her legs buckled, sending her slumping down onto the warehouse floor. Is he dead? He is. Yi Hongyu fixed his gaze on the young woman as the system prompt popped up once more. Name, Su Shanshan. Occupation, Trainee Warehouse Administrator. Talent, Spatial Storage Warehouse. Apocalyptic Compatibility. Maximum. A flicker of interest appeared in Yi Hongyu's eyes. A spatial storage ability was far more valuable than any physical stockpile of supplies. Send an invitation to recruit Su Shanshan into the team? Yi Hongyu stretched out a hand toward her. Can you stand up? Su Shanshan stared at him and nodded shakily. Yi Hongyu pulled her back onto her feet. The moment she steadied herself, Her gaze drifted back to the corpse, her complexion growing even paler. What was wrong with that man? He was a zombie. All the infected individuals reported on the news are creatures just like him. Su Shanshan shook her head repeatedly in denial. That can't be true. How could zombies appear inside a shopping mall? You were moments away from being bitten. Do you truly believe that was a normal human being? Su Shanshan parted her lips, but could not form a single rebuttal. Yi Hongyu gave her no extra time to process her shock. Full-scale zombie outbreaks will sweep the entire city within 3 days. Malls will be completely emptied by looters, and clean water and food will become the most precious currency alive. I can guarantee your survival. Su Shanshan lifted her head to meet his eyes, raw fear lingering in her expression. Why would you choose to help me? Because your ability is useful to our survival group. Yi Hongyu spoke bluntly without softening his words. Join my team, or remain here and wait for death. The choice is yours to make. Su Shanshan glanced around the chaotic warehouse. Mountains of supplies surrounded her, yet there was not a single person she could trust for safety. The memory of the infected man lunging at her was etched sharply into her mind. She bit hard into her lower lip and made her decision. I'll join your team. Ding. Su Shanshan has confirmed team membership. Team formation successful. Teammate talent unlocked. Tier 1 Spatial Warehouse. Spatial warehouse capacity can be upgraded by depositing stored materials. Host receives doubled talent amplification effect. Host obtains advanced oversized personal storage dimension. The host storage space will automatically upgrade in tandem with the teammate's spatial warehouse. All team members share a life bond with the team captain. A look of surprise crossed Su Shanshan's face. A shared life bond. Yi Hongyu stared straight at her. It means exactly what it states. If I die, you die alongside me. Which is precisely why you must never wander off alone. Su Shanshan's breath hitched, fresh dread settling in her chest. Still, she glanced back at the zombie corpse on the floor and realized she had no chance of surviving out here on her own. What do I need to do now? Yi Hongyu gestured toward the mountains of goods filling the warehouse. Activate your spatial warehouse ability. Store every edible item, drink, and long-term storable supply you can find inside your dimension. Su Shanshan closed her eyes and raised both hands upward. A translucent dimensional entrance materialized before her after several seconds of concentration. She lifted a crate of bottled water and tossed it into the glowing portal. The carton vanished instantly without a trace. Su Shanshan's eyes widened in pure amazement. It really worked. Quit dawdling. Yi Hongyu heaved 2 large sacks of flour onto his shoulders. We do not have time to waste. Understood. Su Shanshan took a deep breath and sprinted toward the shelving units. She fumbled clumsily with the supplies at first, dropping milk crates twice and scattering packs of bread across the floor. Yi Hongyu gathered the fallen goods and tossed them straight into her spatial portal. Prioritize water first. Humans cannot survive more than a handful of days without clean drinking water. Su Shanshan nodded and stacked crate after crate of bottled water into her storage dimension. What about these cartons of milk? Store them. Yogurt as well? Store everything. Ham sausages, bread, crackers, instant noodles, canned food, snacks. All of it goes into storage. Su Shanshan ran back and forth nonstop, sweat soaking the back of her work uniform. The quiet, mild-mannered intern now hauled heavy rice sacks across the warehouse without pausing to fix her messy hair. There are barrels of cooking oil stacked over here. Add those to storage immediately. We've nearly filled an entire row with grains and cooking oil. Keep collecting more. Yi Hongyu carried 250-kilogram rice sacks over and tossed them directly into the spatial portal. Su Shanshan watched his unruffled demeanor and could not help but ask a question. How are you not scared at all? Yi Hongyu continued moving supplies without slowing his pace. Fear will not keep us alive. Su Shanshan fell silent for a moment before gritting her teeth and lifting a large box of compressed biscuits. Then I won't be scared either. More than an hour later, over half the warehouse had been completely cleared out. 200 sacks of flour, over 100 sacks of rice, and more than 30 barrels of cooking oil were safely stored away. Towering piles of bottled water, milk, yogurt, cured meat, baked goods, instant noodles, canned meals, and assorted snacks had all been sealed within Su Shanshan's spatial warehouse. Su Shanshan leaned against an empty shelf, gasping for breath, wiping sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand, a faint spark of excitement shining in her tired eyes. Yi Hongyu, did we basically empty out this entire warehouse? Yi Hongyu scanned the vacant shelving rows. Every long-lasting food source and ready-to-eat provision had been secured. Whatever little remained was not worth wasting precious time collecting. Pretty much. Su Shanshan stared at the bare racks, still stunned by what they had accomplished. How long will all these supplies last us? Let's focus on surviving the immediate crisis first. Yi Hongyu picked up his bloodied baseball bat. It's time to leave. Su Shanshan hurried to follow close behind him. The moment they exited the warehouse through the mall's back exit, public order on the surrounding streets had fully collapsed. Squealing tires and violent crashes echoed not far away as two vehicles collided head-on at an intersection, white smoke billowing from their crumpled hoods. Drivers stumbled out of wrecked cars, clutching bleeding head wounds and screaming for help. Storefront metal shutters slammed down one after another, while pedestrians fled in every direction clutching looted provisions. Yi Hongyu led Su Shanshan rushing out to the parking lot and quickly climbed into his vehicle. The car had barely pulled out of the lot when wailing police sirens blared through the streets. Multiple police vehicles raced against the flow of traffic with emergency lights flashing wildly. Bang! Bang bang! Several police officers stood firing their handguns on a nearby sidewalk. One blood-covered infected person pounced on a civilian before a bullet pierced its skull, dropping the creature to the pavement. The surrounding onlookers felt no sense of relief from the kill. Parents dragged their children into closed shops for cover. Drivers swerved recklessly through roadways. And countless people hauled rolling suitcases toward the city outskirts in a desperate bid to flee. A city bus slammed into a roadside guardrail. The instant its doors flew open, two snarling infected figures burst out onto the street. Good heavens! Su Shanshan squeezed her seatbelt tight with both hands. Her face drained of color as she watched the chaos unfold outside the windshield. Her voice trembling badly. The news alert only mentioned suspected rabies cases. I thought the media was exaggerating the situation and everything would calm down in a couple days. How did it spiral into this so fast? Yi Hongyu gripped the steering wheel firmly without reducing his driving speed. This is only the very beginning. Su Shanshan twisted sharply to face him. The beginning? Yi Hongyu spotted the main road completely blocked by abandoned vehicles and sharply turned into a side street to bypass the congestion. After the zombie outbreak, cold snaps, floods and earthquakes will strike one after another. The subsequent disasters will be far more devastating than what we're facing now. Su Shanshan caught her breath sharply. She stared at Yi Yuhang's calm profile, a chill crawling up her scalp. How do you know all of this? Who exactly are you? Just someone trying to stay alive. Yi Yuhang's tone was flat and emotionless. He offered no further explanation, his mind already screening potential new team members. Zhang Yu's underground bunker would serve as their safe haven, and Su Shanshan's spatial storage would handle their material reserves. Their shelter and supplies were now secured. What he needed next was firepower capable of cutting through hordes of zombies. The car rounded onto Inhu Avenue only to grind to another halt. Dozens of vehicles had crashed into one another, doors hanging ajar with phones, footwear and bloodstains scattered across the asphalt. A police cruiser sat sideways blocking the entire roadway. Behind the wheel sat a short-haired policewoman, her features tight with tension. Her name was Lin Xiaoxue. In the passenger seat, Li Chong clutched a walkie-talkie, sweat beading thickly across his forehead. Headquarters calling all units. Mass infections have broken out in West District. Hospitals are requesting immediate reinforcements. 30-plus vehicles involved in a pileup on the East City Elevated Highway. The South Suburban Police Station has gone completely offline. Urgent static crackled through the walkie-talkie with every transmitted command. Lin Xiaoxue ground her teeth together. Li Chong, how many functional police units do we have left in the city? Li Chong's face darkened with dread. Barely any. He lifted his gaze toward the sidewalk, where an officer had just put down an infected person, only for 3 more zombies to lunge straight for him. News coming in from overseas, multiple major cities have fallen entirely. Police stations, hospitals, military garrisons, everything is gone over there. Lin Xiaoxue's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. Will our city end up falling too? Li Chong did not reply. His breathing suddenly grew ragged and heavy. Lin Xiaoxue noticed the abnormality and glanced over. Li Chong's head hung low, his body twitching faintly. Dark blood vessels bulged beneath the skin of his neck, and his complexion drained of all color in an instant. Li Chong. Lin Xiaoxue reached out to tap his shoulder. Li Chong snapped his head upward violently. His eyes were bloodshot, his mouth split open as a low, guttural growl rumbled in his throat. Roar! Lin Xiaoxue's pupils constricted to pinpricks as she slammed hard on the brake pedal. The cruiser skidded sideways across the pavement, throwing Li Chong forward and disrupting his pounce. Li Chong, fight it! Lin Xiaoxue threw open her door and tumbled out of the vehicle, drawing her service pistol and aiming it steadily at the passenger compartment. Li Chong slammed the passenger door open, hauling himself onto the road on all fours. His uniform was rumpled from the seatbelt, blood foam dripping from his jaws as he charged relentlessly toward Lin Xiaoxue. Lin Xiaoxue stepped backward twice, keeping her gun trained forward. Stay back. Li Chong was no longer capable of rational thought. He lunged forward, jaws aimed straight for her neck. Lin Xiaoxue dodged sideways and drove her boot hard into his chest. Li Chong stumbled backward a step before charging once more. Lin Xiaoxue shouted into her walkie-talkie, calling headquarters. Officer infected on Yinhu Avenue. Request backup immediately. Headquarters, come in. A burst of static filled the device, followed by a panicked male shout. Xiaoxue, don't let him get close to you. Headquarters is overrun. Get out of there now. The voice cut off abruptly. The walkie-talkie was then filled with chaotic gunfire, screams, and the snarls of zombies. Lin Xiaoxue froze mid-air, her face turning deathly pale. Headquarters had fallen. Her superiors, her fellow officers, everyone coordinating law enforcement across the city, they were all dead. Li Chong lunged again. Lin Xiaoxue raised her pistol, yet her fingertips trembled uncontrollably. Li Chong, I'm so sorry. Bang. The bullet pierced Li Chong's forehead. His body jolted once before collapsing motionless onto the road. A heavy silence hung over the street for 2 heartbeats. Lin Xiaoxue stood rooted to the spot, slowly lowering her firearm as she stared at the corpse of her former partner, tears stinging her eyes. This was the first time she had taken a life, and the victim was someone she had worked and eaten meals alongside every single workday. Her legs buckled, and she slid down the side of the police car to the ground, gasping for air. I killed him. I actually killed Li Chong. Inside Yi Yuhang's vehicle, Su Shanshan clamped a hand over her mouth to muffle her quiet gasps. Yi Yuhang pushed open the car door and walked over to Lin Xiaoxue. Name, Lin Xiaoxue. Occupation, police officer. Occupation compatibility. Extremely high. Invitation to join the team available. He stopped directly in front of her. Lin Xiaoxue. Lin Xiaoxue lifted her tear-streaked face. Who are you? Yi Yuhang. Join my team if you want to survive. Lin Xiaoxue stared blankly at him, then swept her eyes over the lawless chaos spreading across the street. The police department was gone, headquarters was gone, and Li Chong was dead. She had nowhere left to go. If I join you, will I survive? I can make no absolute guarantees. Yi Yuhang spoke bluntly. But with me, you stand a fighting chance. Lin Xiaoxue studied his face for several seconds. Fresh zombie growls echoed in the distance, leaving her no time to hesitate. I'll join. Ding. Lin Xiaoxue has confirmed team membership. Team formation successful. Member exclusive ability unlocked. Infinite Armory initial unlocked weapons. Desert Eagle. AK-47 ammunition supply. Unlimited high-tier weapon library now accessible. Vulcan Gatling gun, Barrett rifle, electromagnetic pulse rifle, and other armaments currently locked. Leaving the team will result in permanent loss of this exclusive ability upon the captain's death. All team members will perish instantly. A black dimensional rift materialized before Lin Xiaoxue. She instinctively reached out, and a heavy Desert Eagle materialized within her palm, its magazine fully loaded. She stared at the weapon in stunned silence. What kind of power is this? Yi Yuhang concealed a faint smile as he reviewed the system prompt. The Infinite Armory was invaluable in the end times. Firearms were common enough to scavenge, but ammunition was always the scarcest resource. Without bullets, even the finest guns were nothing more than scrap metal. Lin Xiaoxue's ability had perfectly filled the team's most critical vulnerability. Su Shanshan hurried out of the car to stand beside Lin Xiaoxue. Don't be too alarmed, Officer Lin. Lin Xiaoxue glanced up at her. Su Shanshan gestured toward herself. I have spatial storage capacity, and Zhang Yu built our underground bunker. Yi Yuhang will lead us to safe paths to survive. Lin Xiaoxue gripped the Desert Eagle tightly before looking back at Yi Yuhang. Losing the ability if I leave, dying if the captain dies. This isn't a team, it's forced bondage. Yi Yuhang did not deny her words. You are free to withdraw right now if you wish. Lin Xiaoxue glanced at Li Chong's body on the pavement, then at the city crumbling into ruin around them. Her official sidearm only held 4 remaining rounds. Law Enforcement Command was obliterated, rescue support was non-existent, and infected creatures roamed every corner of the urban landscape. She truly had no other viable options. Lin Xiaoxue drew a deep breath and holstered her service weapon. I'll stay. I follow your lead from this moment onward. Yi Yuhang nodded. Get in the vehicle. Zombies continued to pour onto the roadway. Squads of military personnel held defensive positions at the road junction, firing continuously at approaching infected targets. Armored vehicles lined the crossroads with heavy machine guns firing non-stop, while tank treads crushed road barriers as turrets rotated to cover surrounding city blocks. Gunfire rippled endlessly through the streets, engulfing the entire city in overwhelming panic. Yi Yuhang navigated around the military blockade and headed toward their rental apartment complex. Seated in the back seat, Lin Xiaoxue tested and familiarized herself with her new ability. She reached toward the Black Rift, and a fully modified AK-47 dropped into her grasp. Stack after stack of loaded magazines materialized one after another, piling up at her feet. Su Shanshan watched in utter amazement. Your ability is absolutely overpowered, Officer Lin. Lin Xiaoxue ran her fingers over the AK-47's frame, her pulse quickening with quiet excitement. I saw the upgrade rules just now. Yi Yuhang met her gaze through the rearview mirror. What's required to level up? Fire a total of 100 rounds to advance to the next tier. Higher tiers unlock stronger weaponry. Lin Xiaoxue restrained her excitement and gazed out the car window. The Gatling gun, Barrett sniper rifle, and EMP weapons are all locked behind higher upgrade tiers. But there are heavy military forces deployed everywhere right now. Firing our weapons will get us detained as hostile threats. Yi Yuhang nodded in agreement. Hold your fire for the time being. Lin Xiaoxue stowed the AK-47 back into her armory dimension. Su Shanshan hugged her backpack to her chest and spoke softly. We've got food, a secure bunker, and heavy firepower now. Does this mean we can survive for good? Yi Yuhang did not answer immediately. Zhang Yu would manage their bunker facilities, Su Shanshan would oversee all material stockpiles, and Lin Xiaoxue would handle all combat operations. Shelter, reserves, and combat strength. Their core team framework was fully established. Their next priority was relocating the bunker to a more secure zone. If they could weather the initial peak of the zombie outbreak, they would gain a stable foothold in this ruined world. First, we return to the apartment, then we'll move the bunker to a safer location. The vehicle pulled up near the residential complex. This was a modest residential area that usually only employed a single gate security guard. Yet uniformed police officers stood stationed at every entrance today. Yellow cordon tape sealed off the compound gates, with officers conducting door-to-door infection screenings. After parking the car, Yi Yuhang turned to Lin Xiaoxue. Secure all your weaponry out of sight. Lin Xiaoxue complied, storing her Desert Eagle and AK-47 back within her armory dimension. The gate police relaxed their guard upon spotting her official police uniform. What is the situation inside the complex? Lin Xiaoxue composed her expression. All quiet for the moment. The officers asked no further questions and waved their vehicle through the checkpoint. When they reached the rental unit, Zhang Yu was already waiting by the front door. She rushed forward the second she saw Yi Yuhang return safely. I was so worried about you. Her moment of relief faded quickly when she noticed Lin Xiaoxue standing beside him. Who is this? Yi Yuhang closed the apartment door behind them. Lin Xiaoxue, an active police officer. Zhang Yu is the landlord of this unit. Su Shanshan cut into the conversation. Sister Zhang Yu owns a functional underground bunker, and I possess spatial storage space. Lin Xiaoxue looked toward Zhang Yu. You constructed the bunker yourself? Zhang Yu nodded. Yi Yuhang warned me the end of the world was coming. Lin Xiaoxue let out a bitter laugh. The end of the world is already here. Yi Yuhang gathered the three women into the living room. Su Shanshan, take stock of all our supplies. Su Shanshan immediately retrieved an inventory ledger from her spatial storage. Sitting down at the coffee table to sort and tally every item. 100 cartons of pure milk, 50 cartons of yogurt, 10 cartons of spicy snacks, 15 cartons of salted duck eggs, 50 cases of bottled water, 80 boxes of potato chips. Combined rice and flour stock totals roughly 300 jin. She lifted her head to address the group. Yi Yuhang also has an identical stockpile stored separately. Zhang Yu stared in shock. We have this much stock. Shouldn't that be enough to last us a long while? Yi Yuhang shook his head. It will not be nearly enough. The full-scale zombie pandemic will peak in exactly 2 days. Food will spoil, municipal water supplies will be cut off, and the power grid will collapse entirely before long. He turned his attention to Zhang Yu. This rental apartment is far too exposed and unsafe. There is an unused storage cellar on the ground floor. We will anchor the bunker's entrance down into that underground space. Zhang Yu agreed readily. An underground location will be vastly more secure than this residential unit. Lin Xiaoxue peered out the apartment window. I can clear any hostile encounters along our path when we move the bunker. A sharp knock suddenly echoed against the front door. Every person inside the room fell dead silent instantly. Lin Xiaoxue stood and summoned her Desert Eagle into her grasp. passing her underloaded service pistol to Su Shanshan. Hold on to this. Su Shanshan accepted the firearm, her hands trembling violently. I don't know how to use a gun at all. Do not pull the trigger under any circumstances. I'll teach you basic firearms safety later, Lin Xiaoxua whispered in a low voice. Yi Yuhang walked to the doorway and peered through the peephole. Two uniformed patrol officers stood outside the unit door, one of them raising a fist to knock again. Residents, please remain indoors. All infected individuals within the building have been neutralized. Cooperate with our safety inspections and refrain from leaving your residences unnecessarily. Yi Yuhang reached for the doorknob to open up, when a dark figure lunged out from the stairwell landing. A female infected person had hidden behind the fire escape door, her face caked in fresh blood as she lunged for one of the patrolling officers' necks. Ah! The officer screamed and stumbled backward, while his partner hastily raised his service rifle. The zombie was already closing the distance. Lin Xiaoxua acted without hesitation, yanking the door open and firing her Desert Eagle. Bang! The deafening gunshot reverberated throughout the entire stairwell. The zombie's head burst open on impact, splattering blood across the wall surface, before its body crumpled lifelessly at the two officers' feet. Zhang Yu screamed and stumbled backward, her face drained of color. Su Shanshan clamped both hands over her mouth, nearly dropping the borrowed pistol onto the floor. The two patrol officers stood frozen in complete shock. Lin Xiaoxua slammed the door shut and twisted the deadbolt locked. Zhang Yu trembled all over and stumbled into Yi Yuhang's chest. How did zombies get inside this residential building too? Yi Yuhang placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Infected persons are already loose within the complex. It is only a matter of time before this entire residential zone is overrun. The moment his words faded, chaos erupted outside. Resident screams echoed down from upper floors, intermixed with the guttural snarls of zombies echoing through the corridor. Rapid gunfire crackled continuously, paired with frantic fists slamming against residential doors. Su Shanshan's face blanched completely. What do we do now? The infection is spreading far too quickly. Yi Yuhang swept his gaze across the three women. We evacuate immediately. He raised his palm, drawing every fixture inside the apartment. Television, refrigerator, air conditioner, tables, chairs, and mattresses. Into his personal spatial storage without wasting a single usable item. Zhang Yu watched the fully furnished room turn completely empty in the blink of an eye, catching her breath in surprise. Take the stairwell, avoid the elevators entirely. The four of them pulled open the front door and crept downward along the wall. The stairwell echoed with panicked footsteps and terrified cries. Upon reaching the second floor, they witnessed several zombies tackling fleeing residents. One woman fell behind the group and was pinned to the ground by the infected horde. Her desperate screams quickly faded into weak gurgles as blood pooled across the concrete floor. Within moments, her body convulsed before she rose back to her feet with bloodshot eyes, charging after the remaining survivors. Su Shanshan doubled over against the wall, overcome with nausea. Zhang Yu clung tightly to the hem of Yi Yuhang's jacket, barely daring to breathe above a whisper. Lin Xiaoxua raised her firearm but forced herself to hold back the urge to shoot, as military troops stationed at the building entrance had already opened fire. Continuous gunshots rang out as soldiers delivered precision headshots to suppress the immediate zombie horde, temporarily calming the chaos within the residential complex. Once gunfire subsided in the stairwell, an army lieutenant stepped forward to address the panicked residents. Listen closely, all residents. Lock your doors and windows immediately. Do not consume water from unknown sources and avoid all contact with infected persons. Military personnel will manage the crisis on site. No resident is permitted to leave their homes voluntarily. Armed soldiers stood guard on both sides of the stairwell, their rifles aimed at the piled zombie corpses on the ground. Residents who had been rushing out in terror retreated back indoors, some peering cautiously out through door cracks. The military is here now. We'll be safe soon enough. These monsters can only hurt a handful of people at most, and the army even brought armored vehicles into the area. Official authorities have taken charge. We just need to wait for official updates inside our homes. Resident murmurs gradually calmed, many growing visibly relieved. Some began calling family members over their phones, while others hauled extra drinking water into their apartments. Convinced the worst of the crisis had already passed, Yi Yuhang stood hidden at the stairwell bend, ignoring the surrounding chatter. By nightfall, the city's entire underground water supply network would be fully contaminated. Latent infected individuals would complete their transformation in mass numbers overnight. The military could secure a single residential complex, but they could never defend an entire city. Once infection numbers crossed the critical threshold, public order would collapse completely within a single night. Stop watching. Yi Yuhang turned toward the three women beside him. Follow me. Zhang Yu maintained her grip on his clothing and spoke in a hushed tone. Military troops are posted downstairs. Do we really need to leave right now? This exact military presence is what makes the residents lower their guard, Yi Yuhang explained to her. This area will become extremely dangerous before long. Lin Xiaoxua voiced her agreement, tightening her grip on her Desert Eagle. As she scanned the sealed apartment doors lining the stairwell with a grim expression. Yi Yuhang is correct. The military is only clearing surface-level infected cases. If a large-scale outbreak erupts, ordinary residents here have zero means of escape. Su Shanshan swallowed hard and hurried to keep pace with Yi Yuhang. The four evaded the military cordon and circled around to a shrub-covered vacant lot on the complex perimeter. This spot was isolated from main roadways with no nearby residential buildings, ensuring the bunker entrance would remain hidden from easy discovery. Zhang Yu. Yi Yuhang came to a halt. Deploy the bunker here. Zhang Yu drew a deep breath and pressed her palm to her forehead. I'll try. She closed her eyes, visualizing the golden-hued underground bunker space in her mind. A low rumble emanated from the ground seconds later as soil split apart, to reveal a massive heavy brass hatch slowly rising upward from beneath the earth. The hatch featured a plain, unadorned surface with a black identification panel embedded into its frame. Zhang Yu opened her eyes, staring at the structure in awe. It actually deployed here successfully. A green light flickered to life on the control panel. Facial recognition verified the heavy bunker hatch swung inward automatically, revealing a set of metal steps leading downward into the underground space. Zhang Yu glanced back at Yi Yuhang with a flicker of pride on her face. This is my exclusive survival bunker. Entry is restricted via facial scanning. No outsiders can gain access even if they happen to locate this spot. Yi Yuhang stepped up to the identification panel, and the green light scanned his facial features instantly. Facial recognition verified. Zhang Yu blinked in confusion. Why does the scanner accept your facial data as well? Captain Administrative Privileges. Yi Yuhang gave a brief explanation, before stepping down into the bunker first. The three women followed after him, their footsteps ringing crisply against the metal stair treads. Once the overhead hatch sealed shut behind them, they were able to fully observe the bunker's interior layout. The ceiling stood at a height of 3.3 meters, with an open, concept combined living and dining area occupying the central space. For separate private rooms lined both sides of the bunker, each fitted with its own private washroom and shower facility. Wall-mounted lighting fixtures were already installed, and the floor surface was smooth and finished. Aside from missing furniture and household appliances, the underground space functioned as a fully finished underground residential unit. Su Shanshan stood in the center of the living room, gazing up at the bright overhead lights. This space is enormous. Are we truly going to live here from now on? Lin Xiaoxua walked over to the wall and knocked her knuckles against the brass paneling, the dull resonant sound easing a portion of her tension. Walls of this thickness are completely impenetrable to ordinary zombies. As long as the entrance stays concealed, we can endure even massive zombie hordes above ground. Zhang Yu lifted her chin, growing more confident in her ability to contribute to the group. The brass alloy provides exceptional defensive properties against far more than just zombies. The system stated this bunker can withstand high-impact shockwaves. Defensive capabilities will strengthen further as we complete system upgrades in the future. Yi Yuhang looked toward her. What is required to upgrade the bunker? Zhang Yu's proud expression faded slightly. We need architectural blueprints for expansion projects. I am currently only a Tier 1 architect. I can deploy the bunker and adjust its basic structural framework. But constructing dedicated farm zones, large-scale water storage tanks, and layered defensive barriers requires additional technical knowledge I have yet to learn. Her voice softened with slight uncertainty. My existing academic knowledge is insufficient for these advanced upgrades. Yi Yuhang suppressed a faint smile. The system had marked Zhang Yu with extremely high team compatibility, not solely for her architectural talents. Though sharp-witted in ordinary circumstances, she was largely unfamiliar with the rules and mechanics of the apocalyptic system. That is manageable. You will remain stationed inside the bunker to study the blueprints and gradually fill in knowledge gaps. Zhang Yu looked up toward him. What about you? Lin Xiaoxua spoke before Zhang Yu could continue. We have a bunker, yet our overall material reserves are still far too limited. She gestured toward the empty dining area. We lack adequate water reserves, daily food supplies, and basic living amenities. This space is nothing more than an empty reinforced shell without proper stockpiles. We need to replenish our water and material reserves to sustain long-term survival. Yi Yuhang nodded in agreement. Zhang Yu will stay here to familiarize herself with the bunker systems and research expansion blueprints. Su Shanshan and Lin Xiaoxue will accompany me on supply runs outside. Zhang Yu grew anxious and stepped directly in front of Yi Yuhang. Can't I join you on the supply missions? The outside world is far too dangerous. Yi Yuhang met her gaze steadily. Your responsibilities here are more critical than scavenging for supplies. Zhang Yu pressed her lips together and lightly grabbed the cuff of his jacket sleeve. Promise to come back safely. Don't return covered in blood again. Su Shanshan stood off to the side, exchanging a quiet glance with Lin Xiaoxue, who maintained a neutral expression with the faintest upward twitch at the corner of her mouth. Sister Zhang Yu worries about him an awful lot. A faint flush rose across Zhang Yu's cheeks as she quickly let go of his sleeve. I'm only concerned that he might get killed out there. Yi Yuhang chose not to tease her further, departing the bunker alongside Su Shanshan and Lin Xiaoxue. The clock had just passed 5 in the evening, with the sun sinking behind the high-rise buildings on the horizon. Only 2 days remained until municipal order collapsed entirely across the city. They had to seize the window of time, while official authorities still maintained superficial blockades to scavenge critical bulk supplies. The vehicle headed for the largest Auchan supermarket in the surrounding district. Long before reaching the building perimeter, rows of police cordon tape came into view. Armored vehicles were parked at the main supermarket entrance, flanked by 2 lines of armed soldiers guarding every entry point. All metal roll-up shutters on the supermarket were fully lowered, with store staff blocked outside the premises with no way to gain entry. The government has officially seized control of this supermarket complex. Su Shanshan stared at the heavily armed troop deployment. We won't be able to get inside at all. Lin Xiaoxue frowned deeply. A forced break-in is not feasible. Troop numbers here are substantial. Any confrontation will result in us being detained as armed looters. Yi Yuhang pressed down on the brake pedal, his gaze fixed firmly on the supermarket main gate. We will work out a viable plan. The second his sentence ended, harsh tire screeches echoed from a side street. A red Ferrari rounded the corner at reckless speed, swerving erratically before slamming head-on into a roadside tree. Crash! Airbags deployed instantly as the front crumpled inward, showering the pavement with shattered windshield glass. The driver's side door flew open, and a woman wearing formal business attire stumbled unsteadily out of the wreckage. She was tall in stature, dressed in professional workwear, her face etched with raw terror. She took several panicked steps forward before her shoe caught on a crack in the pavement, sending her crashing to the ground. A blood-soaked zombie stumbled out from behind the wrecked vehicle in hot pursuit. Help me! The woman twisted her head to spot the charging zombie, her face draining of all color. She pushed against the pavement to stand, yet her footwear restricted her movement completely. The zombie closed the distance rapidly, its jaws lined with congealed blood and raw flesh as it lunged toward her prone body. The woman closed her eyes in utter despair. Bang! A gunshot rang out. The zombie's head burst open, and its body slumped beside the woman. Lin Xiaoxue lowered her Desert Eagle and hurried forward to carefully confirm the zombie was completely incapacitated. The woman slowly opened her eyes. Catching sight of Lin Xiaoxue's police uniform, tears immediately streamed down her cheeks. Officer, please save me. My colleague turned into that monster. He started attacking people inside the car. I hijacked the vehicle to escape, but crashed into a tree. Lin Xiaoxue reached out and pulled her to her feet. We need to get out of here first. Yi Yuhang had already walked over to the woman. Name, Cheng Mingyuan. Age, 26. Occupation, psychologist. Occupation compatibility, extremely high. Available to recruit to the team. Cheng Mingyuan gripped Lin Xiaoxue's arm, gasping for breath. She eyed Yi Yuhang with wariness and confusion. Who are you? Yi Yuhang. His tone was blunt and straightforward. Join my team if you want to stay alive. Cheng Mingyuan stared blankly. Join your team. Civilization has collapsed completely out there. You won't survive till nightfall on your own. Yi Yuhang fixed his gaze on her. Stick with me, and I'll provide you with a safe shelter, food, and clean water. I won't force you if you choose to refuse. Cheng Mingyuan glanced back at her wrecked Ferrari. Thuds echoed faintly from inside the vehicle. Her infected colleague was slamming his head violently against the car windows. Blood smeared all over the glass, and the gunfire had drawn hordes of zombies heading straight for their location. She had no way out whatsoever. I'll join. Ding. Cheng Mingyuan has formally joined the team. Team formation successful. Exclusive team member ability unlocked. Mental control current level, level 1. Capable of controlling one individual at a time. Ability level can be upgraded by increasing the number of controlled targets. Team members will lose their exclusive abilities if expelled from the squad upon the captain's death. All team members will perish alongside him. Cheng Mingyuan stiffened, staring at the system panel materializing before her eyes, barely able to draw a steady breath. What is this? Am I losing my mind? Su Shanshan walked up beside her and gently patted her back. I thought I'd gone crazy too at first, but the apocalypse itself is far more absurd than this system. Cheng Mingyuan looked towards Su Shanshan, who raised her palm to unfold a translucent spatial rift in front of her hand. I can store supplies. Sister Zhang Yu is able to build underground bunkers, and Officer Lin has a pistol with infinite bullets. You've gained the power to control other people's minds. Staring at the words mental control displayed on the panel, Cheng Mingyuan's expression shifted repeatedly before she pressed her lips firmly together. I'll follow Yi Yuhang. A new system notification chimed. Host receives double ability enhancement buff. You have obtained a weakened variant of mental control. Yi Yuhang lifted his gaze toward the Ocean supermarket ahead. With Cheng Mingyuan's mental control paired with his own weakened version of the ability, the blockade guarding the premises would no longer bar their path. The four returned to the supermarket entrance. A man wearing a security uniform stepped forward to stop them. A badge pinned to his chest identified him as Security Captain Lin Fan. He had worn a stern expression ready to turn them away, but froze the instant his eyes landed on Cheng Mingyuan. Dressed in a neat formal black suit, her figure was framed neatly by the tailored outfit, one high-heeled shoe discarded on the ground beside her. Her face still pale from the harrowing escape she had just endured. Lin Fan swallowed hard, his composure slipping. What business do you have here? Cheng Mingyuan stepped half a pace forward and locked eyes with him. We are official supply inspectors tasked with auditing inventory inside the supermarket. Cooperate with our work and grant us immediate access. Lin Fan's features gradually relaxed, his gaze growing hollow and unfocused. Official supply inspectors. Understood. Open the gates at once. Lin Fan nodded mechanically and turned toward the station's soldiers by the gate. They are inspectors dispatched by higher authorities to audit supermarket stock levels. A soldier raised his arm to block their passage. Present your official credentials. Yi Yuhang met the soldier's stare and activated his weakened mental control without delay. We are here on official orders to tally supplies. The soldier froze in place. After staring at Yi Yuhang for several seconds, the tension in his shoulders faded away. Proceed inside. The remaining soldiers exchanged bewildered glances, several opening their mouths to raise questions. Yet Lin Fan had already pulled open a side gate of the supermarket. Please come in. Standing behind Yi Yuhang, Su Shanshan breathed out in quiet awe. This ability is ridiculously useful. Lin Xiaoxue glanced at the soldiers letting them pass and lowered her voice with a warning. The control effect only lasts for a limited time. We must hurry. Yi Yuhang turned to Cheng Mingyuan. How long can you maintain the control over them? 2 hours maximum. Cheng Mingyuan massaged her throbbing temples. Sustaining the power grows increasingly painful the longer I hold it. That is more than enough. Yi Yuhang led the three women into the supermarket. The entire Ocean premises was under full lockdown, empty of shoppers and shop assistants alike, yet every shelf remained fully stocked with goods. Bottled water, soft drinks, snacks, grain, oil, fresh produce, and frozen foods were all untouched. Su Shanshan and Cheng Mingyuan each summoned their own spatial rifts and immediately began gathering provisions. Prioritize collecting the water first. Yi Yuhang gestured toward rows upon rows of bottled water. Take all the beverages as well. Su Shanshan lifted an entire crate of bottled water and tossed it into her spatial pocket, with Cheng Mingyuan quickly loading cases of drinks right after her. What about cookware and tableware? Collect all of it. Paper towels, wet wipes, and garbage bags. Take everything without exception. Laundry detergent, dish soap, and disinfection supplies. Grab every usable item we can carry. Case after case of water and drinks vanished into storage, leaving large, empty stretches across the shelves. Cookware, table coverings, plastic wrap, paper products, and cleaning supplies were all transferred into the spatial warehouses without leftover stock. Lin Xiaoxue pushed a shopping cart over to their group. The bedding section is further back. Yi Yuhang immediately led the others onward. A brutal temperature drop of -100 degrees Celsius would sweep across the globe soon enough. While food was critical, warm survival supplies were equally vital. Pillows, blankets, down comforters, thermal throws, and sleeping bags were stripped clean from every shelf they found. Zhang Yu's underground bunker possessed sturdy defensive capabilities, but was completely unfurnished, These collected goods would allow them to properly furnish their underground living quarters once they returned. Snack aisle is this way. Su Shanshan wheeled an empty shopping cart toward another corridor of shelves. Sunflower seeds, beef jerky, dried fruit, cured meat snacks, spicy strips and biscuits, all instant edible goods. Cheng Mingyuan had regained her calm composure, stacking multiple cartons of preserved snacks into her spatial rift. These items boast long shelf lives and make perfect emergency rations. Yi Yuhang did not linger over the snacks. You two handle the snacks. I'll head for the fresh produce section. The refrigerated counters in the fresh goods area were piled high with various cuts of meat. With a sweep of his hand, pork, beef, lamb, whole chickens, drumsticks, and chicken wings vanished one after another. In total, more than 500 jin of assorted meat products were fully secured. Nearby in the fruit section, over 1,000 jin of apples, oranges, bananas, grapes, and other fruits were also deposited into spatial storage. Not a single piece of the 3,000+ jin of vegetables lining the produce racks was left behind. By the time Cheng Mingyuan reached the fresh food zone, most of the cold cabinets had already been emptied out. Yi Yuhang, just how large is your personal spatial storage? Save the questions for later. Yi Yuhang checked the current time. Pick up the pace. Do not waste time lingering over snacks. Only 45 minutes remained before the mental control wore off. The group rushed straight to the frozen goods area. More than 40 refrigerated racks stood neatly lined up, stocked full of frozen dumplings, glutinous rice balls, hand pancakes, steamed buns, wontons, fried chicken chunks, and premium steak cuts. Su Shanshan and Cheng Mingyuan stationed themselves at either end to absorb the stock, while Yi Yuhang hauled entire crates of frozen ingredients toward the spatial rifts. Row after row of freezers were emptied rapidly. Roughly 1 ton of frozen food products were completely collected by the team. Instant noodle aisle, over here. Lin Xiaoxue called out from the other end of the corridor. We also have milk, yogurt, and canned meat products over here. Yi Yuhang hurried over with the other women. Entire cartons of instant noodles, ham sausages, pure milk, and yogurt disappeared instantly. All 300+ cans of preserved meat on the shelves were cleared out, along with more than 80 sacks of grain and cooking oil. Su Shanshan finally headed toward the checkout counters, sweeping every pack of coffee sticks from the adjacent shelves into her spatial warehouse. As the group stepped out through the supermarket side exit, the soldiers posted outside snapped to attention instantly. The platoon leader in charge spotted Yi Yuhang, stiffened his posture, and strode forward to salute respectfully, clearly mistaking Yi Yuhang for a high-ranking superior officer. Sir, have you finished your supply inspection? Yi Yuhang gave a casual nod. We are done. The platoon leader immediately stepped aside with a deferential tone. Please take your leave. Do not hesitate to issue any orders should you require further assistance. Su Shanshan glanced backward as she walked along, watching the platoon leader stand rigidly at attention with his salute held until their vehicle pulled away from the premises. Seated in the passenger seat, Cheng Mingyuan finally let out a quiet laugh. That was unbelievably thrilling. She pulled several packs of snacks out from her spatial pocket and set them on her lap. Chips, cookies, jelly, and chocolate bars. Su Shanshan excitedly rummaged through her own stored goods. I stockpiled piles of biscuits, beef jerky, and assorted candies. My arms are sore from hauling goods in the snack section earlier. Cheng Mingyuan looked back toward the empty supermarket shelves and felt a twinge of regret. It's a shame we could only take 1/3 of everything available. It feels such a waste leaving all that food behind. Yi Yuhang started the vehicle's engine and slowly drove away from the Oshan premises. We can come back tomorrow. The government blockade will not hold forever, and the supplies aren't going anywhere on their own. Cheng Mingyuan relaxed at his words, leaning back against the seat with a box of chocolate in her hands. Lin Xiaoxue sat quietly in the back seat, maintaining her usual calm demeanor. Where are we heading next? Yi Yuhang glanced at the clock on the dashboard. 8 o'clock in the evening. There was still plenty of daylight left. Our next stop. He looked toward Su Shanshan through the rearview mirror. How much free space do you have left in your spatial warehouse? Su Shanshan closed her eyes to check the contents within her storage dimension. Mountains of supplies including bottled water, grain, frozen produce, raw meat, and daily necessities occupied a large portion of the 10,000 cubic meter warehouse space. Half the capacity is currently filled. We still have ample room to collect more supplies. Yi Yuhang nodded and twisted the steering wheel to change course. Head for the Sam's Club wholesale store. Su Shanshan looked up in surprise. Sam's Club? Their security measures are far stricter than Oshan's, right? There's bound to be military personnel stationed there as well, which also means they possess a far larger stockpile of goods. Yi Yuhang pressed down on the accelerator, steering the car through the chaotic city streets. In just a matter of hours, the entire city of S had been transformed beyond recognition. Major roadways were clogged with abandoned vehicles. Some survivors were trapped inside cars pounding frantically against the windows, while others dragged their luggage in a desperate flight toward the city outskirts. Gunshots echoed periodically from street corners. Groups of police officers opened fire on infected individuals. Yet newly turned zombies continued pouring out from storefronts the moment one threat was neutralized. Some civilians fled home clutching stolen bottles of water, while others collapsed onto the sidewalks weeping in despair. Every large supermarket across the city had been placed under emergency government lockdown. Officials attempted to centralize control over food stockpiles to prevent mass looting by panicked civilians, yet starving survivors refused to acknowledge these restrictive measures. In his past life, after the zombie outbreak escalated to full-scale crisis, swarms of desperate survivors stormed government storage depots. They foolishly believed seizing food would allow them to endure the apocalypse, only to be cornered and overwhelmed by massive zombie hordes surrounding the warehouses. Not a single person managed to escape alive. Government regulations and authority could only maintain temporary order. Once total chaos descended upon the world, every established rule would cease to hold any meaning. 30 minutes later, the building housing Sam's Club came into view up ahead. Its defensive perimeter was drastically tighter than Auchan's. Barricades and warning tape encircled the entire building, with over 50 soldiers posted at scattered guard points. Armored vehicles and temporary roadblocks had been set up at the main entrances, blocking ordinary citizens from approaching the premises entirely. Chung Mingyuan frowned upon seeing the heavy security detail. I can only maintain mental control over a single person at a time with my current ability level. Yi Yuhang locked his sights on the commanding officer overseeing the guards. Focus your control on that lead captain. His verbal clearance will grant us far easier access than controlling dozens of individual soldiers separately. Chung Mingyuan nodded, exiting the vehicle to walk toward the checkpoint. The captain immediately raised a hand to halt her advance. Halt. This supermarket is under military administration. No unauthorized personnel are permitted entry. Chung Mingyuan stopped just before the warning tape and fixed her gaze firmly on his eyes. I am an official supply auditor dispatched by higher command. We require entry to conduct a full inventory count of stored goods. Remove the blockade immediately. The captain froze on the spot. After staring into Chung Mingyuan's eyes for several seconds, his vision turned blank and vacant. Supply auditing personnel. Acknowledged, lift the security barriers. The captain turned and shouted orders to the surrounding soldiers. Stand down from the entry checkpoint. These individuals are here to carry out confidential official assignments. The soldiers exchanged confused glances with one another. Though many sensed something was amiss, they dared not disobey a direct order from their commanding officer. Yi Yuhang led the three women past the cordon and smoothly entered the supermarket. The building was devoid of shoppers, with all overhead lighting kept fully illuminated. Every shelf remained stacked high with sealed wholesale goods. Imported beverages, milk powder, premium snacks, coffee beans, premium steaks, seafood, cherries, and assorted fruits sat untouched on the racks. Standing before the beverage aisle, Su Shanshan's eyes lit up with excitement. There is an incredible amount of stock here. Yi Yuhang issued his order without hesitation. Collect the entire stock wholesale. Beverages, milk powder, coffee, snacks, fruits, and meats. Leave nothing behind. Chung Mingyuan promptly unfolded her spatial rift, and Su Shanshan began transferring goods into her own storage dimension from the opposite side of the aisle. Whole crates of imported drinks vanished in quick succession, followed by milk powder tins, canned food, chocolate, premium beef cuts, and various seafood items continuously fed into the spatial warehouses. Yi Yuhang lifted a large case of cherries and stored it within his personal spatial pocket. Lin Xiaoxua pushed a shopping cart through the aisles, ferrying stacks of merchandise toward the two women collecting supplies. An hour passed, and all four were drenched in sweat from constant labor. Su Shanshan leaned against a shelf, gasping heavily for air. This manual carrying method is far too slow. We've only managed to gather 1/6 of all available goods after working nonstop for an hour. Chung Mingyuan rubbed her pounding temples, her complexion growing pale from mental strain. At this rate, we will never finish collecting supplies before my mental control effect expires. Yi Yuhang stared at the vast stretches of untouched shelves with a furrowed brow. Manually moving individual goods was undeniably inefficient. Su Shanshan stared at her floating spatial rift and suddenly smacked her own forehead in realization. Yi Yuhang looked toward her. Speak your thought. We've been needlessly hauling every item into the storage dimension by hand. Su Shanshan pointed toward the translucent spatial opening. What if we move the rift itself instead? If we guide the opening along the front of each shelf, could it automatically draw all the goods inward? Cheng Mingyuan fell silent for a moment before grasping the logic of the idea. That's right. If we expand the size of the spatial rift, all merchandise on the shelves will be pulled inside passively. Yi Yuhang's expression sharpened as he raised his palm to manifest a large black spatial rift in front of the shelving unit. He slowly guided the floating opening forward along the aisle. The entire row of beverage shelves vanished in an instant. Every product alongside the metal shelf framework was fully absorbed into the spatial warehouse. Su Shanshan's jaw dropped in stunned disbelief. It can actually work like this. Lin Xiaoxua stood frozen beside her shopping cart, her breath catching in her throat. The once fully stocked aisle had turned completely empty in the blink of an eye. A faint smile tugged at Cheng Mingyuan's lips as she watched the advancing black rift steadily consume all goods in its path. We won't have to haul individual crates one by one anymore. Yi Yuhang continued maneuvering the spatial rift forward at a steady pace. While the rift moved at a moderate speed, its efficiency vastly outmatched manual labor. Every beverage, snack pack, milk powder can and frozen food item along its path vanished along with the shelving structures holding them. Supplies piled up rapidly inside Su Shanshan's spatial warehouse. 30 minutes later, a system notification popped up collectively in front of all four people. Spatial warehouse upgraded to level 2. Total storage capacity increased to 20,000 cubic meters. Dual binding buff activated simultaneously. Yi Yuhang's personal exclusive spatial warehouse was instantly expanded to hold 40,000 cubic meters of material. Su Shanshan stared blankly at the notification prompt. My storage space leveled up, but why did yours upgrade as well? Both Cheng Mingyuan and Lin Xiaoxua turned their attention toward Yi Yuhang, having witnessed the system alert firsthand. Every ability, storage capacity upgrade, and developmental progress belonging to team members was duplicated for Yi Yuhang through the dual binding buff. All of their most private trump cards and growth metrics were fully laid open to his perception. An awkward, uneasy feeling washed over the three women upon realizing this fact. Yi Yuhang paid no mind to their unspoken questions. 30 minutes of controlled time remain. Keep gathering supplies. Lin Xiaoxua snapped back to focus immediately, working alongside Cheng Mingyuan to tip entire shelving units toward the spatial rift. Sweat beaded on Cheng Mingyuan's forehead from maintaining the captain's mental control, yet she never halted her movements. Imported liquor stock is lined up to the left. Collect all of it. The seafood and premium steaks inside the deep freezers are still untouched. Push all those racks over for collection. Lin Xiaoxua gripped the edge of a metal shelf and pushed alongside Cheng Mingyuan, sending the full shelving unit sliding toward the spatial rift. Yi Yuhang waved his hand to absorb the entire structure along with every stored product upon it. By 10 o'clock at night, 2/3 of Sam's Club's high-value inventory had been emptied out. Imported food products, beverages, milk powder, meat, frozen goods, and premium daily necessities were nearly gone. Basic cooking oil, seasonings, cookware, and miscellaneous low-value sundries were left untouched. These items occupied excessive storage space with minimal practical priority, so the group opted to abandon collecting them. Withdraw immediately. At Yi Yuhang's command, the four quickly exited the supermarket premises. The controlled captain stood rigidly at the main entrance, snapping his posture straight the second he spotted Yi Yuhang and saluting once more. Safe travels, sir. Yi Yuhang did not pause to acknowledge him, leading the three women back to their vehicle and driving away from the wholesale store. Several minutes afterward, Cheng Mingyuan's mental control ability faded completely. The captain shook his dazed head, cold sweat breaking out across his forehead. He looked toward the surrounding soldiers with a confused frown. What exactly was I doing just now? The soldiers appeared equally perplexed. Captain, you were performing your guard duty the entire time. A heavy fog hung over the captain's memories. The full 2 hours spent under mental manipulation had been completely erased from his mind. Chalking his disorientation up to exhaustion from prolonged guard duty shifts, he hastily finished his duty handover and retreated to the staff lounge to fall asleep instantly. No one discovered that most of the supermarket stock had been looted during this window. Yi Yuhang wasted no additional time. Over the next several hours, he led the three women to raid multiple other supermarkets across the urban area. Mass quantities of food, pharmaceutical supplies, clothing, bedding, hygiene products, and assorted daily necessities were continuously transferred into their expansive spatial storage systems. The group finally halted their operations at 2 o'clock in the early morning hours. Chung Mingyuan slouched against the passenger seat, drained to the point where she could not even lift a single finger. Su Shanshan hugged her backpack while staring out the vehicle windows. Gunfire continued to crackle nonstop across the city streets, intermixed with distant roars of zombies and occasional screams of terrified civilians. "How much longer will we have to live through this nightmare?" she whispered softly. Yi Yuhang tightened his grip on the steering wheel and fell into a short silence. In his previous life, he had struggled to survive for an entire year within the apocalyptic wasteland. And even after that full year passed, the end of the disaster never arrived. There was no need to burden the other women with these grim truths. Focus on surviving for now. Stockpile sufficient provisions and secure our underground bunker, and we will fare far better than the vast majority of other survivors out here. Su Shanshan nodded silently, falling quiet once more. Their underground safe house was situated a great distance from the city center, and more supply-gathering missions were planned for the following day. For this reason, Yi Yuhang chose not to make the long drive back to the shelter in the dead of night. He steered the car toward Constellation Mansion. This upscale hotel stood in the heart of downtown S-City, ranking among the safest zones available at the moment. Over 200 soldiers were stationed around the premises. Security screenings were enforced at every entrance and exit, while nearby streets were placed under tight lockdown. Lin Xiaoxua stowed her weapon into the armory, and the group cleared inspection before stepping into the hotel lobby. The lounge was filled with wealthy merchants and tourists seeking refuge, each face etched with palpable anxiety. Yet Yi Yuhang, flanked by 3 women, instantly drew countless stares. Chung Mingyuan was still clad in her business formal suit with no time to change out of it. Su Shanshan hugged her backpack tightly, her features heavy with exhaustion. Lin Xiaoxue wore her police uniform, her back ramrod straight, her cold face devoid of any emotion. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Who could that man possibly be? The whole world's gone to hell outside, and he's holed up in a hotel with 3 women. He must have serious connections, no question. Yi Yuhang walked up to the front desk. "One room, please." The receptionist brightened immediately upon sizing up the 4 people's attire and bearing. "We have standard suites and executive suites available right now, sir." Lin Xiaoxua swept a sharp glance over the onlookers surrounding them, her tone frosty. "Make it quick." Chung Mingyuan cut indirectly. "Book the presidential suite." The receptionist blinked in surprise before her grin widened further. "Our top-floor presidential suite on the penultimate level costs 22,000 yuan per night. Process the booking right away." After speaking, Chung Mingyuan turned to Yi Yuhang. "The end of the world is bearing down on us. Money's worthless at this point anyway." Yi Yuhang nodded his consent. The receptionist finished the check-in formalities at once and personally escorted the group upstairs. Spanning 200 square meters, the presidential suite occupied the penultimate floor. It featured 2 bedrooms, a spacious living room furnished with premium sofas, and floor-to-ceiling windows offering a sweeping nighttime view across S-City. None of them had the mental bandwidth to admire the scenery. Once the door sealed shut behind them, Su Shanshan collapsed onto the nearest sofa. "I'm completely worn out. I've hauled more cargo today than I have in the entire previous year combined." Chung Mingyuan slipped off her high heels and massaged her aching ankles. "Do we need to keep gathering supplies tomorrow?" Lin Xiaoxue settled onto another sofa and looked toward the others. "Better to push through the fatigue now than starve once the full-scale apocalypse erupts. With stockpiles, a secure shelter, and weaponry at our disposal, we're already far luckier than most survivors out there." Su Shanshan sighed heavily. "Officer Lin, how are you not drained at all?" "I am exhausted." Lin Xiaoxue leaned back into the cushions. "But we cannot afford to let our guard drop, no matter how tired we get." Chung Mingyuan and Su Shanshan rested for a short while before heading to take showers. Only for Yi Yuhang to call out sharply, "Do not use the hotel's tap water." The 2 women froze mid-motion, and Chung Mingyuan glanced back with a confused expression. "What's the reason for that?" "The local water sources are contaminated with the virus." Yi Yuhang's voice carried a grave edge. "Groundwater will become progressively polluted starting tonight. Heat up the bottled water we stockpiled for washing purposes. Avoid touching any running water inside this hotel whatsoever." Su Shanshan paled instantly and hurried to twist the open faucet closed. Chung Mingyuan also grew cautious without delay. Both retrieved bottled water from their spatial storage compartment and heated it inside the bathroom. Moments later, faint splashing sounds and soft laughter drifted out from the washroom. Yi Yuhang remained seated on the living room sofa, his gaze settling on Lin Xiaoxue. Her short hair was disheveled, and dried blood stained the cuffs of her police uniform. Sensing his stare, she lifted her head to meet his eyes. "Something you need?" Yi Hang wasted no time with pleasantries. Survival in the apocalypse hinges on sticking together as a unit. All established laws and social constraints will collapse sooner rather than later. The three of you should discuss it among yourselves. One person will stay in the master bedroom tonight to keep watch alongside me. Lin Xiaoxue's eyes widened, genuine shock washing over her features for the first time. What did you just say? Yi Hang held her gaze without repeating his words. Lin Xiaoxue sank into a prolonged silence. She fully grasped the underlying logic of his request. Every supply stockpile, safe haven, firepower resource, and supernatural ability within their group originated from Yi Hang. If he perished, every single one of them would die alongside him. Without his protection, she would never last long amid the incoming zombie hordes on her own. The apocalypse had already begun. The rules she had spent years upholding and defending were crumbling bit by bit this very night. Lin Xiaoxue pressed her lips firmly together, then raised her head after a lengthy pause. Very well. I will stand guard with you in the master bedroom tonight. She did not hesitate as she stepped into the suite's main bedroom. Yi Hang gave a quiet nod in response. Understood. Su Shanshan sat curled on the sofa clutching a throw pillow, visibly restless. Cheng Mingyuan had finished bathing, wrapped in a hotel bathrobe with damp hair spilling over her shoulders. She glanced back and forth between Lin Xiaoxue and Yi Hang, her lips twitching faintly. Officer Lin certainly made her decision without any hesitation. Heat rose to Lin Xiaoxue's earlobes, yet she did not back down. There is no room for trivial social formalities when the world is ending. Yi Hang cut off their chatter with a raised hand. Su Shanshan, Cheng Mingyuan, take the secondary bedrooms for the night. Get as much rest as you can. We have critical tasks to tackle tomorrow. Su Shanshan bit her lower lip and stood, taking a small step forward. Yi Hang, I'm more than capable of taking the night watch duty as well. Cheng Mingyuan leaned against the sofa frame, her voice lowered to a soft murmur. I am just as competent as Officer Lin. Lin Xiaoxue looked toward the two women, her fingers tightening without uttering a word. Yi Hang swept his eyes across all three companions. Cease this contest for guard duty. Now that you are part of this team, I will not abandon anyone under my care. We will continue bulk supply gathering tomorrow and settle further duty rotations then. Su Shanshan and Cheng Mingyuan exchanged a glance before retreating to their respective rooms. Once their bedroom doors clicked shut, the suite fell into complete silence. None of the group managed to enjoy a truly restful sleep that night. Yi Hang opened his eyes the moment dawn broke. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, chaos had fully engulfed the entire city. Intense gunfire echoed from the streets below, dozens of vehicles crammed into road intersections with crumpled, wrecked front ends. Trapped motorists hammered frantically against car windows, while others abandoned their vehicles and fled for their lives. Zombies chased down living civilians across the pavement. Soldiers fired continuously with assault rifles, rows of infected corpses littering the asphalt. Military trucks lined the roadside as troops hauled cadavers onto the vehicles, with high-temperature incineration equipment stationed further back. This disposal method proved futile against the viral outbreak. However, standard high heat only burned away the outer layers of corpses, leaving the zombie virus particles intact. Military forces would inevitably become overwhelmed once infection numbers skyrocketed further. Lin Xiaoxue sat on the edge of the bed, already back in her full police uniform. She had barely slept a wink overnight. Her short hair was messy, and dark purple bags hung heavy beneath her tired eyes. Law and order has completely collapsed out there. She stared at the bodies being carted away on the streets, her tone heavy with dread. What are our next coordinates? Yi Hang pulled on his outer jacket and took a sip of bottled water from the table. We keep looting supplies. Lin Xiaoxue looked on in surprise. We're heading outside right now? If we delay until the whole city is fully sealed off, we won't be able to retrieve any provisions whatsoever. Yi Hang walked into the living room and knocked sharply on the secondary bedroom door. Get up now. Scuffling noises came from within the room instantly. A few seconds later, Su Shanshan pulled the door ajar. Her hair matted and her face still marked with sleepiness. Why so early? Yi Hang pushed the door open fully and stepped inside. Su Shanshan and Cheng Mingyuan had only just sat upright in bed, their clothes rumpled and bedsheets slipping down to their waists. Both women stiffened the instant he entered, faces flushing bright red as they quickly tugged the bedding upward to cover themselves. Could you at least knock before coming in? Cheng Mingyuan gripped the edge of the blanket, her tone tinged with exasperation. We aren't even dressed yet. Yi Hang remained rooted by the doorway, keeping his gaze neutral and averted. 10 minutes to get yourselves ready. People are dying out on the streets as we speak. The gravity of the situation jolted Su Shanshan wide awake, and she scrambled out of bed immediately. Chung Mingyuan set aside her complaints without delay and grabbed her clothes to head into the bathroom to change. 10 minutes later, all four were fully prepared to depart. Su Shanshan pulled bread, milk, and ham sausages out of spatial storage, and the group ate a hasty breakfast standing in the living room. After confirming the hotel floor remained temporarily secure, Yi Yuhang walked to the center of the lounge. Su Shanshan stepped backward reflexively the second she saw him lift his hand. "Are you going to clear out more furnishings again? Take every usable item with us." Yi Yuhang summoned a black spatial rift into the center of the room. Sofas, coffee tables, televisions, refrigerators, and air conditioners vanished one after another into the void. The master bed, mattresses, wardrobes, and vanity tables from the bedroom were also claimed without a single item left behind. In under 2 minutes, the multi-million yuan presidential suite stood completely bare. Su Shanshan stood frozen on the spot, jaw hanging open in shock. "You're even stripping the hotel of all its furniture?" Chung Mingyuan stared at the empty living area, equally stunned. "Why haul so much furniture when we're going to settle in an underground bunker?" Yi Yuhang walked to the window and pulled the final floor lamp into his spatial storage. "An underground refuge is not meant to be a prison cell. We need proper beds, tables, chairs, home appliances, and kitchenware for long-term habitation. Stocking sufficient supplies is the only way to maintain a bearable quality of life amid the apocalypse." The three women fell silent for a moment, and Lin Xiaoxue was the first to process his reasoning. "You're planning far further ahead than the rest of us." Su Shanshan pressed her lips together, a flicker of embarrassment crossing her features. She had only focused on stockpiling food and drinking water up to this point, never considering that surviving the apocalypse meant more than merely staying alive. Chung Mingyuan pressed her palm to her forehead and activated her mental manipulation ability. "There is another presidential suite directly next door. I will compel a hotel staff member to unlock the door for us." A hotel attendant walking past the corridor froze mid-step, his eyes turning glassy and vacant. Chung Mingyuan fixed her gaze on him and spoke in a calm voice. "Conduct an official inspection of the adjacent presidential suite and open the door at once." The attendant nodded mechanically. "Right away, ma'am." A few minutes later, the door to the second presidential suite swung open. The four divided their tasks with seamless coordination. Yi Yuhang maintained the open spatial rift for storage. Su Shanshan and Lin Xiaoxue moved smaller goods to the void. Chung Mingyuan controlled the attendant to open all cabinet doors, storage closets, and electrical fixtures within the room. It was not long before the second presidential suite was likewise emptied entirely. The hotel worker stood motionless in the vacant living room, his mind foggy and unable to regain his senses for a long while. Su Shanshan clapped dust off her hands and let out a quiet laugh. "Yi Yuhang, we're basically a professional burglary crew at this point." Yi Yuhang glanced over at her. "You've picked up the process quickly." A warm blush spread across Su Shanshan's cheeks as she tilted her chin upward playfully. "I only learned these tricks from following your lead." Lin Xiaoxue spoke up from the side with a faint tease. "He even outmatched a police officer last night." Su Shanshan and Chung Mingyuan both snapped their heads toward her, their eyes darting between Lin Xiaoxue and Yi Yuhang. A smirk tugged at Chung Mingyuan's lips. "No wonder the two of you were occupied last night." Su Shanshan's cheeks burned hot, and she ducked her head to straighten her clothing. "No wonder Officer Lin looks noticeably different today." Lin Xiaoxue shot the pair a sharp glare. "Drop this line of conversation immediately." Yi Yuhang checked the time before turning toward the elevator bank. "Let's move out." The group had barely stepped into the hotel lobby when a staff member blocked their path, his expression tight with nervousness. "Sir, madams, the entire city is under full lockdown protocol. The hotel enforces a one-way exit policy. You will not be permitted re-entry once you leave the premises." Panic flickered across Su Shanshan's face. "What are we supposed to do then?" Yi Yuhang offered no verbal response, merely shooting a brief look toward Chung Mingyuan. She caught his signal and stepped forward half a pace. Staring intently into the staff member's eyes, she spoke in a soft, hypnotic tone. "You are unaware of our identities, and you have never attempted to block our passage. We are personnel dispatched to carry out official special operations." The employee's body stiffened rigidly. After a few seconds, he stepped aside and bowed to clear the walkway. "Please proceed forward." The four exited the hotel unimpeded and drove away in their vehicle. Half an hour later, the hotel manager arrived with his staff to conduct routine room checks. The moment the doors to the two presidential suites were unlocked, every member of the team stood dumbfounded. Every bed, sofa, household appliance, and table and chair had vanished without a trace. Even bathroom mirrors and wall-mounted shelving units had been removed entirely. Cold sweat beaded across the manager's forehead as he stood amid the hollow rooms. Call the police this instant. Send someone to report the break-in. The staff member beside him paled considerably. Manager, zombies are overrunning every street outside. Do you honestly think law enforcement has the manpower to handle a property theft right now? The manager opened his mouth to retort, only to slump heavily onto the floor in defeat. The whole city was on the verge of total collapse. No authorities would spare the resources to investigate two stripped presidential suites amid such widespread catastrophe. By this time, Yi Yuhang's group had arrived at Jinhu 5-star Hotel in the city center. Military personnel were stationed around the hotel perimeter, rendering the area safer than most surrounding districts for the time being. They checked into another suite, rested briefly for 30 minutes, then set off once more. Their next target was Yonghui Supermarket, the largest grocery outlet within a 5-kilometer radius. Soldiers were posted at the entrances of Yonghui Supermarket as well, with warning tape cordoning off the entryways and patrol officers pacing back and forth along the perimeter. No civilian shoppers remained inside the building, yet the store shelves were still fully stocked with every variety of supplies. Cheng Mingyuan looked over toward Yi Yuhang. Stick to our usual method. Yi Yuhang gave a confirming nod. Cheng Mingyuan quickly seized mental control over the head security guard stationed at the entrance. These individuals are supply auditors assigned by higher command. The head guard immediately barked an order to the soldiers on duty. Grant them access. Though confused by the sudden instruction, the troops did not move to obstruct their entry. The rolling metal shutter slammed shut behind them once the four stepped into the 80,000 square foot supermarket. Rows of bottled water, grain staples, snacks, pharmaceutical goods, daily necessities, and frozen food filled every shelf in sight. Yi Yuhang wasted no time issuing assignments. Prioritize collecting water and grain reserves first. Su Shanshan, take charge of the grocery and snack aisles. Lin Xiaoxua, gather all medications and sanitation supplies. Cheng Mingyuan, maintain oversight and control over the patrolling officers outside. The three women sprang into action without delay. Su Shanshan opened her personal spatial portal, crates of bottled water, instant noodles, military ration biscuits, rice sacks, and cooking oil disappearing continuously into storage. Lin Xiaoxua wheeled shopping carts through the pharmacy section, clearing every box of cold medicine, anti-inflammatory drugs, fever reducers, rubbing alcohol, gauze, iodophor, and disinfectant products from the shelves. Cheng Mingyuan controlled the lead patrol officer and ordered his subordinates to assist with transporting bulk cargo. The patrolling staff members had no understanding of what was transpiring. They hauled crate after crate of goods to the spatial rift and watched the provisions vanish into thin air. Beads of nervous sweat forming on their brows as they fought the urge to voice their confusion. The lead patrol officer snapped at them sternly whenever anyone hesitated. This is a classified government operation. Do not ask questions about matters above your clearance level. The subordinates had no choice but to continue moving inventory. 3 hours later, the entire Yonghui supermarket had been completely emptied out. Shelves stood bare, freezers were emptied, and not a single sack of rice or bottle of water remained inside the warehouse storage bays. As they wrapped up their looting operation, Cheng Mingyuan wiped sweat from her forehead and exerted mental control over all patrolling officers present. Knock one another unconscious immediately. The officers' eyes glazed over with compliance, and they raised their fists without the slightest hesitation. Thuds and dull impacts echoed through the space. Moments afterward, every patrol member collapsed unconscious onto the ground. Cheng Mingyuan swayed slightly on her feet and steadied herself against a metal shelf as a system notification materialized before her eyes. Mental manipulation ability upgraded to level 2. Able to maintain simultaneous control over 2 targets. Single, duration control window extended to 4 hours. 10 more controlled targets required for the next level up. Cheng Mingyuan stared at the prompt in surprise before lifting her head toward the others. I've leveled up my ability. A corresponding system alert echoed inside Yi Yuhang's mind. Allied member talent successfully upgraded. Dual passive amplification effect activated. Host's mental manipulation now supports concurrent control of 4 targets. Single, duration control window extended to 8 hours. Yi Yuhang flexed his fingers, feeling a new surge of confidence settle over him. Cheng Mingyuan's gaze drifted toward Lin Xiaoxua and lingered for several seconds. Lin Xiaoxua shifted uncomfortably under her prolonged stare. What are you looking at? Chung Mingyuan let out a quiet chuckle. Nothing in particular. I was just recalling last night's guard duty arrangement. Lin Xiaoshue's cheeks flushed with warmth as she turned toward the exit. Bring that up again, and I will place you under formal police restraint. Su Shanshan followed closely behind them, muttering under her breath. What exactly did Officer Lin get up to during the overnight watch? Yi Yuhang chose not to elaborate on the matter. With all supplies from Yonghui supermarket secured within spatial storage, their overall reserves had expanded exponentially. Only one final batch of bulk goods stood between him and the next upgrade for his spatial warehouse. The four quickly boarded their vehicle and headed for their next supply location. The car had only traveled 2 blocks when the engine let out a low, strained rumble. Yi Yuhang pressed harder on the gas pedal, yet the vehicle's speed steadily dropped until it sputtered to a full stop along the roadside. Su Shanshan glanced down at the dashboard, her expression sinking. We're completely out of fuel. Lin Xiaoxue frowned sharply. There is a PetroChina gas station a short distance from here. Yi Yuhang pushed open the car door. Let's head over to refuel on foot. By the time the group walked to the gas station, the premises had devolved into total chaos. Dozens of vehicles jammed the fuel pump lanes, drivers leaning on their car, horns nonstop. Some motorists climbed out of their vehicles, shouting furious insults, while others clutched empty fuel cans and shoved their way forward in a desperate rush. A station attendant was arguing heatedly with a burly male driver, his face slick with perspiration. Can't you read the queue signs? Everyone is waiting their turn to refuel. What gives you the right to cut the line? The attendant gestured toward the long line of vehicles ahead. The large man roughly shoved the worker backward. I'm trying to evacuate the city right this second. Keep running your mouth, and I'll demolish this entire station. The attendant stumbled backward a couple of paces, his chest heaving with rage. Try laying a hand on me, and see what happens. The driver rolled up his sleeves as bystanders paused to watch the confrontation unfold. Several onlookers prepared to step in and defuse the fight, until the station attendant suddenly froze rigidly in place. The whites of his eyes rolled upward, his body convulsing violently, dark blood seeping out from his neck and facial pores. All anger drained from the burly driver's face in an instant. What the hell is wrong with you? The attendant snapped his head upward and let out a guttural, feral snarl. The man attempted to flee, but the infected worker had already lunged forward, locking his arms tightly around the driver's torso and sinking his teeth into the flesh of his neck. A shrill scream tore from the driver's throat as fresh blood sprayed across the pavement. Pandemonium erupted across the entire gas station immediately. Panicked civilians scrambled back into their vehicles or sprinted away from the pumps without hesitation. Roadways were blocked solid by abandoned cars, trapping drivers further back with no escape route as they slammed their horns frantically while watching people collapse to the ground one after another. Every individual bitten by the infected began seizing uncontrollably, reanimating moments later to hunt down anyone within reach. Screams, sporadic gunfire, and bestial growls blended into a deafening racket. Some victims were dragged beneath vehicles by zombies, while others clambered over the bodies of fallen people in a frantic bid to escape. A handful barricaded themselves inside locked cars, only for the undead to pound relentlessly against the glass windows with their fists. Amid the frantic crowd, an attractive young woman burst free from the mob. Clad in a pale collared shirt with tears streaming down her face as she recklessly charged straight into the horde of zombies. Honey, don't leave me, please. Her husband lay collapsed on the pavement, his shoulder torn open by bite wounds as his body twitched through the initial stages of transformation. A zombie pinned his body to the asphalt and continued tearing at his flesh. The woman threw herself forward in a desperate attempt to pull the creature away from her spouse. Let him go. He's still alive. There has to be a way to save him. Yi Yuhang sprinted forward at once, grabbing her wrist firmly and hauling her backward with all his strength. Stay back. It's too late for him. The woman thrashed violently against his grip, tears flowing nonstop down her cheeks. Let me go? That's my husband. I work as an infectious disease physician at the city's First People's Hospital. I know exactly how to treat bite infections. Yi Yuhang stared down at the man's convulsing form, black veins bulging visibly beneath his skin as his irises clouded over with bloodshot red. You of all people must understand the truth. The zombification process has already fully taken hold of his body. The woman froze completely on the spot upon hearing his words. She watched her husband stagger to his feet from the ground, watching the familiar features of his face twist grotesquely before he let out a guttural zombie snarl. Overwhelmed by utter despair, Chun Meichi suppressed her grief and hurried away from the chaotic gas station alongside Yi Yuhang. The constant sounds of impacts and screams echoed behind them. Vehicles jammed the fuel lanes, trapping everyone with no way to drive out. Those who had been bitten collapsed to the ground, only to rise again moments later and lunge at the struggling motorists. Yi Yuhang led Chun Meiqi through the roadside guardrail, where Lin Xiaoxue had already pulled the car over to the curb. "Get in." Chun Meiqi wrenched open the car door and practically collapsed onto the back seat. She glanced back toward the gas station, burying her face in her hands as her shoulders shook violently. The vehicle sped away from the chaos. It was not until the gas station faded entirely from the rearview mirror that Lin Xiaoxue slowly exhaled a shaky breath. Thank goodness those police officers didn't open fire recklessly. Her hands tightened around the steering wheel, slick with cold sweat. So many people were crammed together back there. If anyone had sprayed gunfire into the crowd, every car would have been gridlocked, and we never would have escaped. Su Shanshan sat in the passenger seat, her face equally ashen. That place was total bedlam. There were more panicking survivors than zombies. Everyone tried to flee at once, leaving nobody able to escape. Chun Meiqi lifted her head, her makeup streaked and ruined by her tears. She looked toward Yi Yuhang with bloodshot eyes. "Thank you. If you hadn't pulled me back, I would have charged straight over to him." Her voice cracked, and fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "I knew he was infected, but I just couldn't bring myself to accept it." Yi Yuhang stared at her without offering empty consolation. In the end times, comfort was the most worthless commodity there was. Every survivor who clung to life would eventually have to come to terms with death. Just then, a system notification materialized before his eyes. Name: Chun Meiqi. Occupation: infectious disease physician. Occupation compatibility rate: 98%. Initiate team recruitment. A flicker of surprise crossed Yi Yuhang's face. 98%. He had crossed paths with countless survivors along their journey, and the system had generated evaluations for each of them. Most people only scored between 50 and 60% compatibility. Recruiting such individuals would only grant mediocre abilities with no real developmental value to the group. Chun Meiqi's near-perfect compatibility rating was unprecedented. Yi Yuhang inwardly grumbled at the system's peculiar screening tendency toward accomplished women. Zhang Yu was their former landlady, Lin Xiaoxue a police officer, Su Shanshan a medical intern, and Cheng Mingyuan a clinical psychologist. Now an infectious disease doctor had joined the fold. Still, he had no intention of passing up such a high-value recruit flagged by the system. Yi Yuhang spoke plainly. "Chun Meiqi, join my team." Chun Meiqi froze, tears still clinging to her cheeks. "A team? What do you mean?" Yi Yuhang wasted no extra explanation and activated his mental influence ability. Chun Meiqi's body stiffened briefly, her gaze growing vacant for a split second. "I accept the invitation to join." The instant the words left her mouth, a translucent status panel appeared in her field of vision. Name: Chun Meiqi. Age: 26. Occupation: infectious disease physician. Innate talent: healing. Chun Meiqi stared blankly at the floating text, her fingers hovering mid-air in shock. "What is this? Why are these words floating in front of my eyes?" She looked up at Yi Yuhang, her expression rife with alarm and confusion. "What did you do to me?" Talent: ability: healing, capable of curing common ailments such as colds and fevers, able to neutralize the zombie virus. One infected individual may be treated per hour. After reading the full ability description, Yi Yuhang's breathing grew heavier. The ability to cure zombie infection was more valuable than an entire armory of weapons. Zombies themselves were not the deadliest threat of the apocalypse. It was viral infection. Even a minor scratch from a zombie bite often led survivors to abandon wounded teammates without hesitation. No one dared gamble on whether an injured person would reanimate, nor was anyone willing to slow their escape to escort an infected companion. Chun Meiqi's healing power could pull victims back from the brink of full zombification. The one-person per hour restriction was more than reasonable. As long as the group avoided overwhelming zombie hordes, Chun Meiqi would serve as the team's lifeline. Yi Yuhang addressed her calmly. "This ability awakened the moment you joined our team." Chun Meiqi remained stunned. "Healing? I am merely a doctor, not some omnipotent deity." Su Shanshan leaned forward hastily to reassure her. "Dr. Chun, don't be frightened. We all went through the same shock at first." She gestured to herself. "I have a spatial storage vault that can hold massive quantities of supplies." She then nodded toward Lin Xiaoxue. "Officer Lin possesses an infinite ammunition reservoir. Her firearms never run dry on bullets." Gripping the wheel firmly, Lin Xiaoxue replied without turning her head. "My starter weapons are only a Desert Eagle and an AK-47. Su Shanshan motioned to Cheng Mingyuan next. Sister Chung can exert mental manipulation over other people. Chung Mingyuan leaned back against the seat, massaging her temples wearily. Sustained control triggers severe migraines, so I can only use this ability sparingly for now. Su Shanshan finished by referencing their base location. Sister Zhang, you built an underground safe haven for us. No matter how chaotic the outside world becomes, we always have a secure place to shelter. Chen Meiqi parted her lips silently, processing everything she had heard. As a medical professional, she had witnessed countless bizarre clinical cases, but spatial storage, unlimited ammunition, underground bunkers, and mental manipulation defied all rational understanding. She regarded Yi Yuhang with a newfound sense of awe, wondering just how many secrets this man held. A sharp warning chime suddenly blared from the vehicle dashboard. Lin Xiaoxue glanced down at the gauge, her expression darkening instantly. We're running low on fuel. Su Shanshan checked the fuel meter anxiously. How much further can we travel? 20 kilometers at absolute most. Lin Xiaoxue frowned deeply. If we fail to locate a fuel source soon, we'll have to abandon this vehicle on the roadside. Chung Mingyuan opened her eyes slowly. There is another gas station not far ahead. Head toward it, Yi Yuhang ordered directly. 10 minutes later, a large-scale service station came into view. No civilian vehicles queued up at the pumps, yet police cordons blocked the entire entrance. Multiple patrol cars were parked alongside the perimeter, with uniformed officers standing guard to bar private vehicles from refueling. One officer held up a hand to halt their car. Pull over immediately. This gas station has been requisitioned by official authorities. Private vehicles are prohibited from refueling here. Lin Xiaoxue brought the car to a stop and lowered her voice. What's our plan? Chung Mingyuan unfastened her seatbelt. I will go negotiate entry. She stepped out of the vehicle and walked toward the cordon, her tailored black professional outfit accentuating her figure as the click of her high heels echoed across the pavement. The wary officer's gazes drifted toward her involuntarily as she approached. State your identity and purpose, the lead guard demanded. Chung Mingyuan met the captain's gaze and activated her mental manipulation. We are special agents dispatched from upper management to carry out urgent material allocation operations. The captain's body stiffened rigidly. Special agents from upper management. Chung Mingyuan spoke in a soft, steady tone. Lift the cordon and fill our vehicle's fuel tank to capacity. The officer's eyes glazed over, and he spun around to issue orders. Remove the security barriers and refuel this vehicle at once. The subordinate officers exchanged confused glances. Sir, this violates official protocol. The captain scowled sharply. Do you intend to delay a critical government mission? The subordinates fell silent and complied without further pushback. A fuel nozzle was inserted into the gas tank, and gasoline began pumping into the vehicle. Su Shanshan leaned against the car window, watching the officers work, and let out a quiet whistle. Sister Chung, your ability is incredibly formidable. Chung Mingyuan pressed a palm to her temple, her complexion drained of color. Quiet down. Repeated mental control drains my mental stamina heavily. Once the tank was full, she climbed back into the rear seat and rested her head against the headrest to recover her energy. Yi Yuhang wasted no time issuing new directions. Our next destination, S City Wanda Plaza. Lin Xiaoxue checked the navigation map. It is a 4-story commercial complex housing supermarkets, liquor stores, jewelry shops, and luxury boutiques. Troops are definitely stationed there to secure supplies. Precisely why the stockpiles inside remain intact, Yi Yuhang stated evenly. The car headed toward the shopping mall as the city descended further into total anarchy. Storefronts along the streets were boarded shut one after another, littered with abandoned vehicles lining every roadway. Distant gunshots and zombie roars reverberated through the urban landscape. Desperate survivors dragged suitcases through the streets, while others fled into residential buildings clutching bottles of water and packaged food. 30 minutes later, the towering Wanda Plaza complex appeared before them. Police tape cordoned off the entire perimeter, with armed soldiers posted at every main entrance, their rifles trained toward the streets outside. 2 soldiers stood chatting near a side gate. Things have gotten extremely strange lately, one soldier muttered with a troubled frown. Entire stockrooms of supplies from several supermarkets have vanished completely, every shelf stripped bare. His comrade sighed with equal frustration. The whole city is without power, and all surveillance cameras are offline. Command has launched multiple investigations, but hasn't uncovered a single clue about who is stealing government stockpiles. Now we've been ordered to tighten security against looters targeting official reserves. When Yi Yuhang's vehicle drew near, the 2 soldiers raised their rifles and assumed combat stances. Halt. The mall is under lockdown. Unauthorized personnel are forbidden to approach. Yi Yuhang locked eyes with the pair and activated his mental influence. We have been assigned to investigate the missing supply incidents. The soldiers froze in place, their minds going blank as they stared at Yi Yuhang for several seconds. Investigators assigned to the supply theft case, you may enter. The side gate was pulled open wide. Seated inside the car, Chun Meichi watched the scene in utter disbelief. In peacetime, manipulating law enforcement personnel to access restricted government property would carry severe criminal penalties. Yet no authority remained to enforce the law now. Civilized social order was crumbling bit by bit. Once the group entered the mall, they headed straight for the supermarket floor. We only have 4 hours here, Yi Yuhang reminded the women. Prioritize collecting supermarket provisions and avoid unnecessary delays. Su Shanshan opened the gateway to her spatial storage, and Chun Meichi activated her own smaller spatial pocket dimension to assist with gathering goods. First gather all bottled water, then beverages of all kinds. Clear out instant noodles, canned goods, and field rations entirely. Case after case of bottled water vanished into storage, alongside drinks, snacks, ready-to-eat meals, grain, cooking oil, and tinned food. Lin Xiaoxua handled transporting the goods, pushing shopping carts down the aisles to stack bulk goods beside the spatial portals. Su Shanshan and Chun Meichi worked non-stop to absorb every item into their respective storage spaces. Cheng Mingyuan stood guard nearby, keeping watch over the mall entrances. No hostile activity detected outside for the moment. Yi Yuhang scanned the emptied shelves. Collect all rubbing alcohol, candles, lighters, and batteries as well. 2 hours later, the entire supermarket floor had been completely cleared out. Over 200 crates of bottled water, assorted beverages, snacks, instant meals, and canned goods were secured within their storage spaces. With nearly all disinfectant, candles, ignition sources, and batteries also claimed. Chun Meichi wiped the sweat beading on her forehead, staring at the bare retail shelves in stunned silence. We've gathered such an enormous volume of supplies. How much have we stockpiled in total? Su Shanshan panted from exhaustion, her face bright with excitement despite her fatigue. Far more than we collected yesterday, that's for certain. Yi Yuhang's gaze drifted toward the high-end liquor counters facing the street, their glass display cases lined with premium spirits. Clear out this section too. Su Shanshan looked up in surprise. We're taking liquor as well? Yi Yuhang grabbed an iron crowbar from his storage space and smashed the glass countertop open. 50+ bottles of Matai, Wulianya, and Guojiao were swept into storage instantly, followed by crates of Mingxilan liquor and high-grade cigarettes. Rubbing alcohol can be used for disinfection and kindling in the apocalypse, while liquor and tobacco act as reliable hard currency. Survivors will trade medicine, weapons, and critical intelligence for these commodities. Su Shanshan nodded in understanding immediately. Then we cannot leave any of this behind. The group proceeded upward to the top floor luxury goods district. Yi Yuhang once more wielded the crowbar to shatter the glass display cases of the jewelry store. Crash. Shards of glass scattered across the tiled floor. Lin Xiaoxua stood to one side, lifting an eyebrow at the sight. Su Shanshan lifted a box of gold bracelets and glanced playfully at her. Officer Lin, would you classify what we're doing right now as looting? Lin Xiaoxua rolled her eyes in response. I hardly have grounds to judge. I'm right here helping haul these goods myself with the apocalypse in full swing. The 4 women set about collecting the merchandise without hesitation. Gold necklaces, bracelets, rings, and earrings were all absorbed into their storage dimensions. Yi Yuhang had previously ruled that all collected supplies belonged to whoever gathered them, so each woman claimed whatever valuables they could carry into their personal storage. After clearing the jewelry shop, they moved into the luxury watch boutique, claiming every Patek Philippe, Rolex, and limited edition timepiece on display. Chun Meichi studied the empty display cabinets and voiced her confusion. Will these watches hold any practical value in this ruined world? Yi Yuhang nodded affirmatively. Precision mechanical parts, precious metals, and rare designer accessories will all retain significant trade value moving forward. A system alert abruptly popped into view for Su Shanshan. Su Shanshan's spatial storage has upgraded to Tier 3 total storage capacity, increased to 40,000 cubic meters. Su Shanshan stared in shock before lighting up with elation. I leveled up. My storage space has doubled in size. Yi Yuhang gestured for them to wrap up their collection work. Hurry to finish up. Our 4-hour time limit is nearly expired. As they walked toward the mall exit, ferocious zombie roars echoed from outdoors. Roar! Lin Xiaoxue's expression sharpened as she drew an AK-47 from her infinite ammunition reserve. Outside the complex, a zombie lunged toward a patrolling soldier. Bang! The soldier fired a headshot, eliminating the creature instantly. Yet 7 more zombies surged out from the surrounding streets and swarmed the station troops seconds afterward. Open fire. A deafening cascade of gunfire erupted across the plaza. One soldier was tackled to the ground by a zombie before he could retreat. He jammed the barrel of his rifle against the creature's jaw, his face drained white with terror. Somebody help me. Just as the zombie leaned in to sink its teeth into his flesh, its entire body seized up rigidly. The corpse abruptly twisted around and pounced on the other nearby zombies, sinking its jaws into a comrade's neck and tearing viciously at its flesh. The remaining zombies also turned on one another, erupting into brutal infighting. The pinned soldier lay frozen on the pavement, utterly dumbfounded. What in the hell is happening? Why are the zombies attacking each other? Lin Xiaoxua kept her AK-47 raised, equally baffled by the bizarre scene. Su Shanshan covered her mouth, holding her breath cautiously. Yi Yuhang instantly turned toward Cheng Mingyuan. Cheng Mingyuan's face was ashen, dotted with beads of cold sweat across her forehead. I tried to exert mental control to stop that attacking zombie a moment ago. I didn't expect the ability to work on the undead as well. A jolt of realization washed over Yi Yuhang. Cheng Mingyuan's mental manipulation could control zombies directly. Moving forward, the team would no longer need to engage small zombie hordes in direct combat. They could simply force the undead to slaughter one another to reduce threats effortlessly. I can only take command of a handful of zombies at once, Cheng Mingyuan said unsteadily while bracing herself against a wall for support. Attempting control over more would overwhelm my mental capacity. That is more than sufficient, Yi Yuhang acknowledged. We leave immediately. The group rushed to their vehicle amid the zombies' chaotic internal brawl, and Lin Xiaoxua floored the gas pedal to speed away from Wanda Plaza. Gunfire continued ringing out in their wake as the city-wide unrest escalated by the minute, making supply runs increasingly perilous. Staring at the endless swarms of zombies wandering the streets, Yi Yuhang reached a final decision. Call today's operations to a halt. We return to Jinhu Hotel to rest and recuperate. Armed soldiers maintained tight security checkpoints surrounding the 5-star Jinhu Hotel, screening every incoming person for open wounds and signs of viral infection. After the group passed inspection, Cheng Mingyuan walked toward the posted guards with a calm smile. Her striking appearance and poised demeanor immediately put the soldiers on duty at ease. Standing before the lead guard, Cheng Mingyuan subtly activated her mental manipulation ability. We have completed our infection screening and are registered guests of this hotel. Grant us immediate entry. The head soldier's gaze glazed over momentarily before raising his hand to signal his men. Allow them through. Yi Yuhang drove the car into the hotel's underground parking garage, and the group boarded an elevator to the main lobby. The front desk staff pulled up their reservation record, shooting a brief questioning glance at the single man accompanied by 4 women. A highly conspicuous grouping amid the chaos outside. With gunfire echoing nonstop beyond the hotel walls, and the lobby packed with displaced survivors seeking shelter, the clerk dared not pose any unnecessary questions. Sir, your booked presidential suite is ready. Please follow me. Lead the way. The presidential suite occupied a high floor. Upon unlocking the door, a spacious living room, dining area, multiple bedrooms, and a private study unfolded before them. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the devastated expanse of S-City outside. Roadways choked with abandoned vehicles, flashing police lights, and sporadic gunfire drifting up from the depths of the city blocks. The moment the suite door clicked shut, Su Shanshan collapsed heavily onto a sofa cushion. I can finally sit down. She sank deep into the upholstery, too fatigued to lift even her arms. We traveled all over the city hauling mountains of supplies today. My legs feel ready to give out entirely. Cheng Mingyuan leaned against the wall to slip off her high heels, red abrasions marring the skin atop her pale feet. High heels were never designed for emergency evacuation and running for one's life. Lin Xiaoxua glanced over at her. You should change into a more practical pair of footwear. Cheng Mingyuan let out a helpless sigh. I don't have any spare shoes with me. This is the only pair I kept in the vehicle. Su Shanshan abruptly sat upright with a bright idea. Shoes? I've stockpiled plenty of footwear inside my storage vault. Cheng Mingyuan looked skeptical. You even collected shoes during our supply runs. I tossed them into storage along with everything else from supermarket and mall shoe racks when we passed by, Su Shanshan replied. She closed her eyes to access her spatial dimension, which was crammed full of bottled water, grain goods, frozen stockpiles, daily necessities, with stacked shoeboxes tucked neatly into a corner of the storage space. After rummaging through her inventory for a moment, she looked up toward Chung Mingyuan. What shoe size do you wear? EU size 38. I've got a pair for you. Su Shanshan stretched out her hand, and a shoebox materialized in her grasp. Opening the lid revealed a limited edition Li Ning sneaker set, sized perfectly for her feet. Chung Mingyuan stared down at the sneakers in surprise. A limited Li Ning collaboration model? These were notoriously hard to purchase during official sales drops. I originally bought them during a livestream flash sale and kept them stored away, unwilling to break the original packaging. But with the apocalypse upon us, expensive footwear means nothing compared to staying alive. Chung Mingyuan stepped out of her high heels and slipped on the sneakers. The soft cushioning instantly relieved the throbbing ache in her soles and ankles. She took a few slow steps across the carpet, glancing down at the shoes with quiet relief. This is incredibly comfortable. Domestic Chinese footwear brands have vastly improved in quality. These are far more functional than my pair of Balenciaga heels. Su Shanshan grinned teasingly. Those designer heels cost a fortune, after all. Didn't you buy them purely for aesthetic appeal? A faint blush tinted Chung Mingyuan's cheeks as she grabbed a throw pillow from the sofa and tossed it toward her. Quit teasing me about this, Su Shanshan. Su Shanshan dodged the flying pillow with a laugh. I'm only telling the truth. Those heels leave you prone to twisting an ankle with minimal movement. They cannot compare to these practical sneakers. Chung Mingyuan chased her across the living room to swat her playfully. Officer Lin, help me. She's making fun of me. Lin Xiaoxua stood beside the floor-to-ceiling window, the corners of her mouth tugging upward faintly. Try not to damage the sweet furnishings while messing around. Light-hearted laughter filled the room as the two women tussled playfully, breathing much-needed warmth into the cold, oppressive atmosphere of the apocalypse. Yi Yuhang did not join their banter. His attention was fixed on Chun Meiqi, who sat alone by the bay window with her knees drawn tightly to her chest. Her pale blouse was stained with grime, and her hair hung messy and unkempt around her shoulders. She paid no heed to the chaotic scenery outside the glass window. The traumatic events at the gas station weighed heavily on her mind. She had watched her husband turn into a zombie without a single moment to bid him farewell. Yi Yuhang walked over and came to a stop in front of her. Chun Meiqi. Chun Meiqi lifted her head, her eyes still red-rimmed from crying. Yes. You have two options moving forward, Yi Yuhang stated in a calm, impartial tone. First, withdraw from the team and fend for yourself out in the city. Second, remain with us and abide by the team's established rules. Chun Meiqi's fingers clenched tightly against her shins. I have nowhere left to go, she whispered hoarsely with her head bowed. The hospital is no longer functional, my family is gone, and my husband transformed into a zombie right before my eyes. I would not survive even a single night alone amid all this chaos outside these walls. Yi Yuhang studied her quietly. If you choose to stay, address me as boss, just like the rest of the group. Chun Meiqi hesitated briefly. Su Shanshan paused her playful chase and nodded encouragingly toward her. Just call him boss. We were all uncomfortable with the title at first, but sticking with the team guarantees consistent food and safety no matter what happens. Lin Xiaoxua said nothing to object, while Chung Mingyuan returned to the sofa and watched Chun Meiqi with a gentle gaze. Chun Meiqi bit down on her lower lip before speaking the quiet phrase. Boss. Yi Yuhang nodded in acknowledgement. For tonight, you will share the master bedroom with me. Panic and awkwardness flashed across Chun Meiqi's features instantly. She looked up at him with obvious unease. I don't know if that's appropriate. There is no malicious intent behind this arrangement. Yi Yuhang cut off her anxious train of thought. I will never force you into any action you are unwilling to take. You are a new member still unfamiliar with everyone here, carrying heavy emotional trauma from your recent loss. Staying in the same bedroom allows you to acclimate to the team environment gradually and keeps you isolated from unnecessary external stress overnight. Chun Meiqi's breathing grew unsteady. She had only been married recently, and her spouse had died violently moments before. She was recruited into this unfamiliar group led by a man who controlled their supplies, safe shelter, and the group's overall safety. Fear lingered in her heart alongside tangled, unidentifiable emotions toward her new leader. You are free to refuse this arrangement, Yi Yuhang added plainly. If you decline, I will remove you from the team roster immediately. The hotel premises will remain secure for you to shelter within until sunrise, after which you will need to locate your own means of survival. Chun Meiqi fell into a long silence. Every distant gunshot reverberating through the hotel walls made her body tense with dread. Leaving the safety of the team meant throwing herself back into the lawless streets swarming with zombies, violent panic survivors, and a rapidly collapsing societal framework. She lifted her head, suppressing the lingering hesitation in her expression. I accept the living arrangement. Yi Yuhang offered no further commentary on the matter. Late into the night, the door to the master bedroom clicked shut. Chen Meiqi sat rigidly on the edge of the bed for a long stretch of silence. Yi Yuhang kept a respectful distance instead of crowding her personal space, methodically explaining the core survival rules of the apocalypse, the internal structure of their team, and their upcoming operational plans. As she listened to his detailed briefing, the sharp terror gripping Chen Meiqi's heart slowly faded away. As a trained infectious disease physician, she understood better than ordinary civilians the irreversible horrors brought on by the zombie virus outbreak. People scratched by zombies are usually shunned, even by their own teammates. But her healing ability can neutralize the zombie virus. She is far from useless, nor does she have to live off others' pity. Chen Meiqi lifted her head and looked at Yi Yuhang. Boss, I'm sticking with you from today onward. Her voice was soft yet resolute, free of all hesitation. I'll make full use of my powers and won't drag the team down. Please keep me alive no matter what happens. Yi Yuhang met her gaze. So long as you never betray the team, I won't abandon you. Chen Meiqi nodded and stepped a little closer. The heavy weight lingering in her heart had finally lifted. Yi Yuhang knew full well how invaluable Chen Meiqi's healing talent was. In the end times, a healer was scarcer than food. What's more, after she joined the team, Yi Yuhang could duplicate her healing power twofold. Chen Meiqi would grow into a core asset for their squad. It was 8 o'clock at night, and darkness had fully blanketed the city. Gunshots echoed far more frequently outside the windows than before. Soldiers stationed around the hotel moved back and forth continuously, military trucks rumbling past the streets one after another, while flames burned brightly in the distance. The horde of zombies outside the city walls kept swelling in numbers. Yi Yuhang headed downstairs to scout the surroundings, confirming no zombie swarms lingered near the hotel. He returned to the presidential suite. Lin Xiaoxua sat in the living room, cleaning her Desert Eagle pistol, glancing up to speak. Are we heading out to scavenge for more supplies? Yi Yuhang walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window, watching panicked civilians flee in all directions on the street. Large-scale zombie outbreaks will kick off starting tomorrow. 2/3 of humanity across the globe will get infected. Su Shanshan sat upright, the smile fading completely from her face. That many people will turn. Cheng Mingyuan frowned deeply. Will the authorities still manage to contain the disaster? They won't hold out. Yi Yuhang turned around to face the group. What we're seeing tonight is only the beginning. After tomorrow, the catastrophe will spiral completely out of control. He turned towards Su Shanshan. How much stock have you stockpiled so far? Su Shanshan shut her eyes immediately to check her spatial storage inventory. Moments later, she reported earnestly. Excluding your personal storage vault, I've accumulated more than 30,000 cubic meters of supplies in my space. We have over 1,000 cases of mineral water and yogurt combined, plus more than 800 cartons of kanji. 50 tons of rice and flour, alongside massive stockpiles of instant noodles, bread, and fresh fruits. The storage space comes with a built-in preservation function, so frozen meat, goods, and fruits won't spoil at all. She paused briefly before adding another note. These supplies are enough to sustain the 5 of us for 2 full years. Cheng Mingyuan let out a quiet breath of relief after hearing the numbers. At the very least, we won't go hungry anytime soon. Lin Xiaoxua nodded in agreement. We have food, fresh water, a safe shelter, and sufficient weaponry. Our squad is already far better off than most surviving groups out there. Yet Yi Yuhang remained stern and vigilant. 30,000 cubic meters of supplies only lets us scrape by barely. Worse disasters are yet to come. Brutal extreme cold storms, earthquakes, catastrophic floods, solar flares, prehistoric beasts, and even extraterrestrial invasions. With our current stock and small team, we won't last long against those threats. A heavy silence settled over the suite. Staring at the mountains of provisions inside her spatial warehouse, Su Shanshan realized for the first time that her massive food reserves were nowhere near sufficient. Cheng Mingyuan clenched her fingers tightly. What should we do then? Yi Yuhang spoke with unwavering resolve. Keep stockpiling resources without pause. We also need to recruit more capable survivors to join us. We can't just hide inside a safe house waiting for death. Lin Xiaoxua stowed her Desert Eagle into her infinite ammunition armory. I agree with the plan. Our squad only possesses basic self-defense capabilities right now. We stand no chance against zombie tides and the upcoming natural disasters. Su Shanshan hopped down from the sofa at once. What are we waiting for then? My spatial storage still has plenty of vacant room. Cheng Mingyuan massaged her throbbing temples. My mental manipulation ability is still usable for support missions. Chen Meiqi stood by the doorway with a calm, composed expression. I will follow all of you on every operation. Yi Yuhang gave a short nod. Gather your belongings. We leave in 10 minutes. Everyone sprung into action immediately. Lin Xiaoxue inspected and maintained their firearms. Su Shanshan sorted and organized her spatial inventory. Cheng Mingyuan swapped her high heels for practical footwear. Chen Meiqi tied her hair back neatly. 10 minutes later, the 5 of them boarded an elevator down to the underground parking garage. Soldiers were posted to guard the hotel exit gates. Cheng Mingyuan locked onto the duty officer and activated her mental manipulation power. This vehicle is on an official emergency supply transport mission. Grant immediate passage. The officer stiffened for a second before raising his hand to issue orders. Open the barrier and let them pass. The roadblock arm lifted upward. Yi Yuhang slammed his foot on the gas pedal, steering the vehicle out of Jinhu Hotel. Chaos had fully erupted across the streets. Crashed and burning vehicles littered the road surface, mixed with shattered glass and scattered personal luggage everywhere. Some civilians clutched their children and scrambled into residential buildings for cover. Others dragged suitcases while fleeing toward the city outskirts. A few people even brandished kitchen cleavers to guard the entrances of convenience stores. Everyone could tell the disaster was far graver than official announcements had claimed. Major shopping malls had long been cordoned off by government forces, leaving citizens with no choice but to rush toward street, side convenience stores, and small supermarkets to grab necessities. As the car drove past a residential complex, loud banging noises echoed up ahead. The rolling shutter door of a fresh produce supermarket was dented and warped from repeated blows. The shop owner stood behind the door clutching his phone, his face drained of all color. I can't sell anything to anyone. I need to survive too. Money will be completely worthless soon enough. Dozens of residents outside flew into a furious rage. You've hoarded piles of supplies and refused to sell even a single bag of grain to us. Open this door right now. If you don't open up, we'll break our way in ourselves. It did not take long for the mob to bash the shutter open with iron rods. The crowd flooded into the supermarket, frantically snatching sacks of grain, flour, bottled water, vegetables, and meat. The shop owner dialed the police emergency number, only to be met with a constant busy tone on the line. He stood rooted to the spot, his complexion growing paler by the second. Public order had completely collapsed in the end times. Su Shanshan hugged her backpack tightly as she witnessed the horrific scene from the back seat. We're lucky we stockpiled all our supplies well in advance. Cheng Mingyuan also sank into silence. She once thought the mountains of goods inside her spatial space were more than enough to get by. Watching ordinary people fight violently over mere sacks of rice made her truly grasp how precious food became once civilization crumbled. Yi Yuhang tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Don't let your guard down for a single moment. Supplies will grow harder and harder to acquire as time passes. Grab every resource we can collect tonight while we still have the chance. Lin Xiaoxue sat in the passenger seat with her pistol resting on her lap. I'll keep watch over our surroundings. Call out immediately if you spot any danger. Yi Yuhang steered clear of large commercial plazas. Those areas were under tight military surveillance. Though filled with supplies, they were not their priority target for the night. He directed the car toward the cultural center of S City. The compound housed a massive public library, a fully equipped fitness center, plus an integrated underground shopping mall. Food could sustain human life for a limited period of time, but knowledge would let people endure the end times long term. Information on agricultural cultivation, medical treatment, wilderness survival skills, technological manufacturing, and military tactics would all be essential knowledge they had to master in the days ahead. Beneath the cultural center lay a large underground shopping mall, perfect for filling the gaps in the team's supply reserves. 30 minutes later, the vehicle pulled up outside the cultural center perimeter. Lin Xiaoxue scanned the scene ahead with a grim look on her face. The defensive setup here is stricter than any shopping mall we've seen so far. Dozens of military vehicles were parked around the building complex. Hundreds of soldiers were posted at every entrance and exit, their firearms permanently aimed toward the streets. Crates upon crates of supplies were continuously transported inside the building while administrative staff tallied and logged every item. The cultural center had been repurposed into a core government supply stockpile. Cheng Mingyuan stared at the large troop deployment outside and rubbed her throbbing temples. There are far too many soldiers stationed here. I can't take mental control over such a large group all at once, and my manipulation effect won't last very long even if I try. Yi Yuhang made no immediate move to exit the vehicle. He observed the movements outside the cultural center patiently, waiting for the guard shift change. The 5 of them remained inside the car, eating bread, milk, and canned food to replenish their physical strength. Time ticked slowly onward. Half an hour later, the final batch of supply transport vehicles departed the cultural center premises. Administrative workers filed out one after another, and the heavy main gate was sealed shut tight. Soldiers still maintained their guard posts around the outer perimeter. Yi Yuhang pushed open the car door. "Let's move out." When the group reached the main entrance of the cultural center, sentry soldiers immediately blocked their path. "Halt! This cultural center is under martial law. No unauthorized personnel are permitted entry." Yi Yuhang wasted no words and directly exerted mental control, targeting the battalion commander standing beside the command vehicle. "We are official supply auditors dispatched by higher headquarters. We are here to conduct an on-site stock-taking inspection and investigate loopholes in supply transportation records." The battalion commander's body stiffened slightly. He stared at Yi Yuhang for several seconds before turning to issue orders to his subordinate soldiers. "Stand aside and grant them entry. These personnel are official inspectors assigned from upper command. Nobody is to obstruct their access." The soldiers exchanged confused glances with one another. None of them had received any notice about newly arrived supply auditors. But no one dared question a direct order from their commanding officer. "Yes, sir." A side gate of the cultural center was pulled open. Yi Yuhang led the four women quickly into the building grounds. The underground shopping mall was located on the basement first floor. Once the rolling shutter was lifted open, every member of the team froze in surprise. Shelves were crammed completely full of provisions inside the mall. Grain oil, instant noodles, snacks, beverages, fresh fruits, canned goods, frozen food, and daily necessities lined every shelf, with countless unopened bulk cartons stacked high inside the back storage rooms. Su Shanshan took a deep breath in shock. "The stock here outnumbers all the supermarkets we've looted combined so far." Yi Yuhang opened a portal to his personal spatial storage. "Priority goes to all edible supplies first. Take every drop of water, sack of grain, can of preserved food, and frozen stock without leaving anything behind." Su Shanshan and Yi Yuhang simultaneously expanded their spatial portals to collect the goods. Cheng Mingyuan, Lin Xiaoxue, and Chen Meiqi worked together to wheel over shelving units, tear open cartons, and clear out the storage stockrooms. Entire rows of bottled water vanished into storage space in an instant. Sacks of rice, wheat flour, cooking oil, canned food, drinks, and instant noodles disappeared one after another. All frozen meat, boiled dumplings, steamed buns, tangyuan, and other frozen goods inside the refrigerated display cases were transferred entirely into the spatial warehouse. 2 hours later, the underground shopping mall was completely emptied out. Bare shelves, cold storage cabinets, and empty cardboard boxes were all that remained in the vacant space. Su Shanshan wiped sweat from her forehead and tilted her head upward toward the upper floors. "Next stop is the library upstairs." Yi Yuhang nodded in approval. The second-floor library door stood unlocked. Neat rows of bookshelves stretched throughout the spacious room, housing an astonishing volume of printed materials. Books on wilderness survival handbooks, agricultural planting techniques, mechanical manufacturing, military industry knowledge, clinical medical treatment, physics and engineering technology, architectural design, and household cooking skills were all sorted into categorized sections. Yi Yuhang skipped the process of picking individual books manually. "Absorb the entire bookshelves wholesale." Su Shanshan looked at him in surprise. "We take the whole shelf units along with the books? It saves precious time." Yi Yuhang waved his hand, and an entire row of bookshelves vanished instantly into storage. Su Shanshan quickly followed suit. Carrying books one by one would take far too long, so she pressed her spatial portal directly against the shelving frameworks to store books and shelf structures together in bulk. Lin Xiaoxue patrolled the area to check book classifications and ensure no critical reading materials were overlooked. Cheng Mingyuan pushed rows of heavy bookshelves toward the spatial portals for collection. Chen Meiqi focused her attention on the medical section, making sure all literature covering infectious diseases, surgical operations, emergency rescue, and pharmaceutical knowledge were safely stored away. Hours slipped by continuously. 3 hours later, most bookshelves within the library had been removed completely. A system notification popped up in front of Su Shanshan's eyes. Spatial storage warehouse upgraded to level 4. Storage capacity increased to 80,000 cubic meters. Right after the notification faded away, the final row of bookshelves in the library was pulled into the spatial dimension. Manuals covering agricultural cultivation, mechanical fabrication, medical emergency care, architectural design, firearm operation principles, and wilderness survival were all secured, shelves and all, with nothing left behind. Su Shanshan leaned against the wall, gasping for breath. Her clothes soaked through with sweat, and her hair sticking damply to her forehead. We've finally finished collecting everything here. She checked the time displayed on her watch. It was already 1 o'clock in the early morning. This floor's supplies drain me even more than the supermarket haul. My arms are practically numb from exhaustion. Cheng Mingyuan rubbed her severely overtaxed temples, her voice heavy with fatigue. My mental manipulation power is reaching its limit. The battalion commander outside will regain his consciousness at any moment now. Lin Xiaoxue stood guard by the library entrance with her Desert Eagle firmly gripped in hand. We need to retreat immediately. We'll be in serious trouble once his mind control fades with so many hostile soldiers posted outside. Yi Yuhang nodded and swept his gaze across his exhausted teammates. Head downstairs and return to the vehicle. Su Shanshan had just straightened up when dense bursts of gunfire suddenly erupted from outside the cultural center building. Bang, bang, bang. The gunshots were quickly followed by constant screams and feral zombie growls. Roar! Open fire quickly. Damn it. Private Zhang just turned into a zombie. The 4 people in the library corridor froze on the spot instantly. Cheng Mingyuan paled and hurried toward the window. Lin Xiaoxue grabbed her shoulder to hold her back. Don't get too close to the glass. I'll check the situation first. She pressed herself against the window frame to peer out at the grounds below. The moment she saw the scene outside, Lin Xiaoxue's expression darkened completely. Something has gone terribly wrong out there. Su Shanshan asked anxiously. What's happening outside? Lin Xiaoxue gritted her teeth and lowered her voice to a whisper. One of the station's soldiers mutated into a zombie. None of them suffered any bite wounds, yet they suddenly lost control and lunged straight for their fellow troops. The military formation guarding the cultural center had descended into total chaos. Soldiers manning the roadblocks retreated backward while firing their weapons in panic. Several newly transformed zombies charged into the troop formation and sank their teeth into former comrades, in arms. Bitten soldiers collapsed to the ground, convulsing violently before rising moments later to attack others in turn. Hundreds more zombies were drawn to the sound of gunfire from farther down the street. They crawled out from storefronts, vehicle undercarriages, greenbelts, and building corridors, moving faster and faster by the second. The station soldiers were trapped between 2 hostile fronts with no escape route. Somebody help us. Don't let them close in. There are more zombies coming from the rear. Gunfire intensified relentlessly, while human cries for help gradually grew sparse and faint. Su Shanshan's legs trembled as she stared out the window. There are swarms upon swarms of zombies surrounding the entire cultural center now. Chen Meiqi wrapped her arms tightly around herself, her face drained of all color. We're trapped inside this building. Cheng Mingyuan turned toward Yi Yuhang with beads of sweat covering her forehead. Boss, what do we do now? All 4 women fixed their eyes on Yi Yuhang. Hundreds of zombies roamed the exterior grounds, while the military force stationed downstairs had fully collapsed. Ordinary survivors would have zero chance of breaking out of the cultural center under such circumstances. Yet Yi Yuhang remained calm and collected. He walked over to the window to glance down at the chaos unfolding below. Stay calm, everyone. We have firearms, spatial storage, healing abilities, and mental manipulation on our side. Ordinary zombies pose no real threat to our group. Su Shanshan swallowed hard nervously. But all ground-level exits are completely blocked off by the horde. Then we won't evacuate through the ground floor. Yi Yuhang turned to study the architectural map mounted on the cultural center wall. The 3rd floor houses a full fitness center. Its main entrance door is constructed from thick reinforced brass with reinforced door frames. We'll barricade ourselves there temporarily. Lin Xiaoxue agreed at once. The solid brass door is thick enough to withstand impacts from regular zombies. Plenty of fitness equipment inside can be stacked to reinforce the entryway as extra barriers. Move out. Yi Yuhang took the lead toward the stairwell. The moment the group stepped out of the library, heavy crashing sounds boomed up from the ground floor. Zombie hordes had smashed their way through the cultural center's main front doors. The defending military troops had completely lost their ability to hold the position. Nearly half of the original 100-plus soldiers had mutated into zombies and attacked their own unit, while external zombie swarms scattered the remaining troops. The 20 or so surviving soldiers abandoned their defensive posts entirely. Several military vehicles crashed through the road barriers and peeled out down the street in retreat. Fall back. Get into the trucks and evacuate now. Military vehicle engines roared loudly as they fled the disaster zone. With no human resistance left to hold them back, zombies flooded unimpeded into the cultural center building. The sound of overturned furniture echoed through the 1st floor lobby, accompanied by dragging footsteps and low guttural growls drifting upward through the stairwell shafts. Yi Yuhang and his team sprinted upward to the third floor. The fitness center occupied most of the floor space, filled with treadmills, barbell racks, workout machinery, and lounge seating areas. Yi Yuhang kicked the heavy brass door shut forcefully. Lin Xiaoxue, barricade this entrance immediately. Su Shanshan and Chen Meiqi, haul over tables and furniture for reinforcement. Cheng Mingyuan, keep watch over the stairwell corridor at all times. Each person carried out their assigned task without delay. Treadmills, lounge benches, storage lockers, and heavy barbell plates were all dragged to pile against the inner side of the main door. Su Shanshan's arms had been aching from exhaustion earlier, but she gritted her teeth and hefted a solid wooden table into place. Chen Meiqi assisted by rolling over 2 large workout machines as additional barriers. Lin Xiaoxue wedged the heaviest barbell rack horizontally against the door frame and secured the door handle tight with steel chains. Thud! Loud impacts resounded against the outer side of the brass door shortly afterward. The thick metal door shuddered under the blows, yet the stacked barricade behind it did not shift an inch. Su Shanshan slid down to sit on the floor with her back pressed against the wall. We've managed to block the door successfully. Chen Meiqi stared out the window and spoke in a quiet tone. The military units have all retreated from this area entirely. No official forces are left to secure this cultural center anymore. Lin Xiaoxue walked over to the window and tightened her grip on her Desert Eagle pistol. Those soldiers weren't lacking in combat capability at all. They were ambushed and attacked by their own mutated teammates out of nowhere. She frowned in deep confusion. But none of those soldiers sustained zombie bites, so how did they get infected? Cheng Mingyuan and Chen Meiqi both turned their gazes toward Yi Yuhang, equally puzzled by the strange phenomenon. Yi Yuhang stayed silent for a few seconds before giving his explanation. The municipal water supply system. The entire city's tap water has long since been contaminated with the zombie virus. Su Shanshan lifted her head abruptly in shock. The virus is present in the drinking water? The zombie virus does not spread solely through bite wounds and scratches. Yi Yuhang watched the retreating military vehicles disappear down the street. After the initial outbreak in my past life, most survivors thought they only needed to steer clear of zombies to stay alive. But they drank unfiltered tap water, bathed with running water, and cooked their meals using contaminated supply water. 3 days afterward, the entire city fell to the zombie pandemic without exception. Chen Meiqi's face turned pale with dread. As a former infectious disease specialist, she understood better than anyone how devastating city-wide water source contamination would be. Standard protective gear and simple safety measures would offer zero defense against such widespread viral transmission. Su Shanshan looked down at the bottled mineral water inside her backpack, her fingers trembling faintly. We're incredibly fortunate we've only been drinking sealed bottled water these past few days. Cheng Mingyuan felt a strong surge of relief mixed with lingering fear. You banned us from using tap water from the very start because you already knew this would happen, didn't you, boss? Lin Xiaoxue fixed her gaze intently on Yi Yuhang. How were you able to predict all of these disasters ahead of time? Yi Yuhang met her eyes coldly. Lin Xiaoxue's heart skipped a beat, and she clamped her mouth shut instantly. A clear warning glinted within his stare. There were certain truths Yi Yuhang chose not to reveal to anyone, and she knew better than to press further inquiries. Chen Meiqi glanced at the wandering zombie hordes roaming the streets far below the window. What is our next course of action for the time being? We wait until sunrise. Yi Yuhang leaned his body against a metal workout machine. Zombies are far more active during nighttime hours, and visibility is severely limited after dark. This fitness center is sufficiently secure for us to hold up safely until dawn. The group had just begun to relax slightly when a dull thud echoed from the far rear section of the fitness center. Boom. Every member of the team stiffened with alarm at the sound. Su Shanshan grabbed onto Chen Meiqi's arm nervously. Are there zombies hiding deeper inside this fitness center? Lin Xiaoxue raised her pistol and aimed toward the source of the noise. The sound came from the direction of the staff office room. Yi Yuhang retrieved a Desert Eagle from Lin Xiaoxue's infinite ammunition storage armory. Cheng Mingyuan, come with me to investigate. Su Shanshan and Chen Meiqi, remain posted here guarding the main barricaded door and do not leave this area under any circumstances. Cheng Mingyuan took a deep breath and followed close behind Yi Yuhang. I'm right behind you. The two walked past the treadmill area toward the inner section of the fitness center. The office door was shut tight. No footsteps came from inside, only muffled, heavy breathing. Yi Yuhang raised his gun. People inside. Come out at once. If you don't, I'm opening this door. Silence hung in the room for several seconds. Standing a short distance away, Lin Xiaoxue spoke up. I'm a police officer. Zombies have already entered the building. So long as you are not infected, you will not be harmed if you come out. Click. The office door swung slowly open. A tall woman stepped out. She wore a black sports tank, top, and tight athletic leggings. Standing nearly 1.75 meters tall, she had a toned midsection, long legs, and well-defined arm muscles. Su Shanshan watched her from afar with a twinge of admiration. She would never achieve a physique like that, no matter how many years she trained. A system prompt popped up in front of Yi Yuhang. Name, Zhang Na. Profession, fitness instructor. Profession compatibility, 98%. Available for team recruitment. Yi Yuhang stared at Zhang Na, genuinely surprised. A team member with such high compatibility had been hiding inside the cultural center. Zhang Na gripped a short metal baton, her gaze sharp and watchful. Who are you people? I should be asking you that. Yi Yuhang glanced around. Zombies have overrun this building. Why are you hiding here? Zhang Na's expression darkened. This is my fitness center. I poured a fortune into getting it up and running. I personally oversaw every piece of equipment, every renovation detail. She glanced toward the window and lowered her voice. I planned to wait until the military cleared the outside before leaving. I never expected the military itself to fall into chaos. Zhang Na's parents lived abroad all year round. When the apocalypse broke out, she had no one she could turn to. This fitness center represented millions of her hard-earned investment. Overnight, everything she had built was ruined. Right then, a system notification appeared before Zhang Na's eyes. Accept invitation to join Yi Yuhang's team? Zhang Na froze on the spot. What is this? Yi Yuhang offered no lengthy explanation. You have two choices. First, stay here and get eaten once the zombies break through the door. Second, join our team and fight to stay alive alongside us. Zhang Na studied Yi Yuhang. She then looked at the gun in Lin Xiaoshue's hands, the floating system panel in front of Cheng Mingyuan, and the pile of equipment stacked near the doorway. She remained silent for a long time. If I join your team, will I really survive? Your odds are far better than going it alone. Zhang Na gritted her teeth. I accept. Ding. Zhang Na has confirmed joining the team. Team formation successful. Exclusive team member talent activated. Level 7 team augmentation. Talent effect. Grants a 7-fold overall stat boost to all team members, scaled according to team size. Exclusive team member talent activated. Level 1 vehicle modification specialist. Can refit all types of vehicles. Talents cease to function if the member is removed from the team or the team leader dies. The instant the prompt vanished, a surge of power washed over every person present. Su Shanshan pushed herself off the ground. Her previously aching arms felt light again. Chun Meichi lifted her hands, the exhaustion in her body forcibly suppressed. Lin Xiaoxue walked over to the barbell rack, grabbed a 100-kilogram barbell with one hand, and lifted it effortlessly above her head. Su Shanshan gaped in shock. Officer Lin, you lifted that with one hand? Lin Xiaoxue stared at the barbell, her breathing quickening in surprise. My strength has at least multiplied 7-fold. Cheng Mingyuan clenched her fists, stunned. I feel as though I could punch straight through a wall right now. Yi Yuhang raised his hands, feeling the massive power welling up inside him. Zhang Na's team augmentation granted a 7-fold bonus. Thanks to his double talent replication ability, that multiplier doubled again to 14-fold for all of his attributes. Eyesight, strength, speed, reflexes, stamina, everything had received a 14-fold enhancement. Ordinary zombies no longer posed any real threat to him. Zhang Na watched everyone's transformation, her face pale with shock. What exactly are you people? Su Shanshan hurried over and took her hand in a reassuring gesture. Don't be afraid. We were just as terrified when we first joined. She nodded toward Yi Yuhang. Our boss has spatial storage. Officer Lin has infinite ammunition. Sister Cheng can perform mental manipulation. Dr. Chun can suppress the zombie virus. Sister Zhang Yu owns an underground safe house. Su Shanshan gave a faint smile. Once you join the team, you're one of us. Zhang Na looked over the group and then back at Yi Yuhang. Survival was nearly impossible alone in this apocalyptic world. Joining this team meant supplies, firepower, and a secure place to shelter. She slowly loosened her grip on the metal baton. I will never betray this team. Yi Yuhang nodded. Good. He opened the portal to his spatial storage. Treadmills, elliptical trainers, barbells, dumbbells, gym apparatus. Sofas and lockers from the fitness center vanished one after another. Zhang Na watched all the equipment she had worked so hard for disappear into storage, the corners of her mouth twitching. You aren't leaving even a single piece of gym equipment behind. The safe house needs a fitness area. Yi Yuhang stored away the final treadmill. This gear will prove useful later. Zhang Na said nothing further. It was better for the equipment to sit inside spatial storage than to fall into the hands of zombies. Yi Yuhang drew several AK-47s from Lin Xiaoshua's ammunition reserve. Lin Xiaoxua, teach the others how to handle firearms. Lin Xiaoxua acknowledged immediately. Remember, plant the stock firmly against your shoulder. Keep your fingers off the trigger until you are ready to fire. Never point the muzzle at your teammates. Su Shanshan held her AK-47, her face pale with nervousness. Cheng Mingyuan pulled back the bolt with steady hands. Zhang Na took her rifle and quickly found a solid shooting stance. Years of physical training had given her far above average coordination. Chen Meiqi declined to take a gun. Yi Yuhang glanced at her. You stay toward the center of the formation. As our medic, your personal safety is top priority. Chen Meiqi nodded. I understand. The group pushed open the brass main doors. No zombies roamed the hallway. Yi Yuhang led the way downstairs. Near the elevator shaft, a zombie was trapped inside the car. Covered in blood, it slammed its fists repeatedly against the elevator doors. Su Shanshan raised her AK-47. Let me handle it. Yi Yuhang pressed the muzzle downward. No gunshots. The noise will draw every zombie in the building. Su Shanshan lowered her weapon at once. Yi Yuhang picked up a baseball bat and walked to the elevator. The doors stood ajar by a narrow gap. The zombie stretched its arms through the opening, scratching wildly. Yi Yuhang swung hard. Bang! The zombie's arm snapped clean off. Roaring, it threw itself against the gap. Another powerful swing landed. Bang! The baseball bat caved in the zombie's skull. Silence settled inside the elevator car. Cheng Mingyuan watched Yi Yuhang's clean, efficient strikes, deeply impressed. Su Shanshan swallowed hard. Aren't you afraid at all, boss? Fear gets you killed. Yi Yuhang kept walking downstairs with the bat in hand. When all 7 reached the ground floor lobby, 6 zombies charged out from behind the reception desk. Lin Xiaoxua instantly raised her AK-47. Open fire. Bang, bang, bang. Yi Yuhang fired ahead of everyone else. His 14-fold stat boost granted him superhuman eyesight and reflexes. The first zombie fell with a bullet between its eyes. The second was shot through the brain mid-leap. The third and fourth collapsed one after another. Lin Xiaoxua supplemented with well-placed shots. Su Shanshan and Cheng Mingyuan fired with shaky aim, yet managed to take down 2 more zombies. In only a few seconds, all 6 lay dead. Zhang Na gripped her AK-47, her chest heaving. This is what 14-fold attributes feel like. Lin Xiaoshua's fingers tightened around her rifle. Every shot Yi Yuhang had fired was a precise headshot. She had only seen marksmanship of that caliber in SWAT training footage. Before anyone could relax, the gunfire echoed throughout the cultural center. Roars poured forth from stairwells, hallways, offices, and corridors. Hundreds of zombies swarmed toward the lobby, completely blocking the main exit. Su Shanshan paled. We're trapped. Chen Meiqi clasped her hands tightly. There are too many. We cannot possibly kill them all. Cheng Mingyuan bit her lip and strained to activate her mental control. She targeted the 2 foremost zombies and forced hostile commands into their minds. The 2 creatures immediately turned and began savagely attacking the other zombies around them. Even as Cheng Mingyuan maintained control over them, more than a dozen fresh zombies surged into the hall. Pressing her temples, sweat beaded across her forehead. Boss, I cannot hold this for long. That's enough. Yi Yuhang lifted his gaze and focused on the 4 zombies rushing at the front. All 4 froze simultaneously, twisted their necks, and then lunged at their fellow undead. Zhang Na stood frozen holding her metal baton. Barely having processed the shock of the 7-fold stat boost, she now watched Yi Yuhang mentally manipulate 4 zombies at once. Mental control works on zombies? Cheng Mingyuan looked toward Yi Yuhang, breathing heavily. She could barely sustain control over 2 with her full concentration, yet Yi Yuhang controlled 4 with far greater stability. Move toward the exit. Yi Yuhang offered no explanation. He grabbed Zhang Na by the wrist and sprinted toward the side entrance, pulling her along. Surprised by the sudden contact, Zhang Na quickly set aside her momentary distraction when more zombies rushed forward. She tightened her grip on her baton and ran to keep pace. Lin Xiaoxua suppressed the left side. Understood. Lin Xiaoxua braced her AK-47 and swept her muzzle across incoming targets. Gunshots cracked non-stop. One zombie dropped with a headshot. Another fell before it could close the distance. Within seconds, more than 20 zombies had been gunned down. Witnessing this, Zhang Na felt a chill run down her spine. She had watched police training before, but sustained, accurate headshot fire like this was beyond ordinary human capability. Su Shanshan fired her rifle with sweaty palms. Her bullet struck a zombie in the shoulder, failing to kill it, but knocking it backward. I hit it. Keep firing. Lin Xiaoxue dodged a lunging zombie and finished it with a single shot. Su Shanshan nodded firmly and raised her rifle again. Cheng Mingyuan kept several zombies fighting against the horde, her face growing increasingly pale. More zombies are coming from the right. Chen Meiqi stayed positioned in the middle of the group, keeping out of harm's way. Yi Yuhang had told her repeatedly that her healing ability was far more valuable than any weapon, and her first priority was staying alive. Stick close to me, Zhang Na called back to her. Chen Meiqi nodded and hurried forward. Su Shanshan and Cheng Mingyuan kept shooting. Lin Xiaoxue's rifle held back the densest clusters of undead. The 4 zombies under Yi Yuhang's control fought against their own kind, carving out an escape route. Trampling over the bodies littering the floor, the 6 escaped through the side entrance of the cultural center. A dusty, gray family sedan sat parked by the road, stained with dried blood. The car keys still sat in the ignition. Zhang Na stepped up to the vehicle and rested her palm against the door. A mental image of a bright, red sports car flashed through her thoughts. At once, the car rumbled. Its gray paint faded away. The hood dropped lower, its wheels widened, and smooth, sleek body panels unfolded, transforming it into a Ferrari 488 whose engine rumbled with a deep growl. Su Shanshan stared in stunned silence. Cheng Mingyuan looked amazed. Zhang Na, your refitting talent is unbelievable. Zhang Na herself seemed bewildered. She reached out and touched the car body. Yi Yuhang glanced at the 2-seater sports car and frowned faintly. It's an impressive car, but how are 6 of us supposed to fit inside? Flushing slightly, Zhang Na closed her eyes and refocused. Placing both hands against the frame, she concentrated. Doors, seats, and chassis reshaped rapidly. The red paint faded. The vehicle broadened and stretched outward. Seconds later, a stretched Range Rover stood before them. It offered spacious seating and an expanded rear cargo compartment. Zhang Na pulled open a door and turned to Yi Yuhang. Will this fit all of us? Yi Yuhang nodded. Get in. Everyone climbed aboard. Zhang Na slid into the driver's seat and gripped the steering wheel. The moment Yi Yuhang settled into his seat, she pressed hard on the accelerator. The powerful engine roared, and the Range Rover lurched forward. 2 zombies leaped out from the roadside shrubbery and were sent flying by the impact, crashing heavily onto the pavement. Speeding toward the intersection, Zhang Na spun the wheel hard. Tires screeched as the vehicle drifted through gaps between wrecked, abandoned cars. Lin Xiaoxue had not yet fastened her seatbelt and slammed against the car door. Thanks to her boosted physical attributes, she sustained no injury. She looked over at Zhang Na behind the wheel. You have raced cars before. Zhang Na kept her eyes locked on the road, never loosening her hold on the steering wheel. I competed in professional races in the past. Su Shanshan clutched the handrail, her face ashen. You seem so gentle normally, Zhang Na Jia. You drive so aggressively. Zhang Na pressed down on the accelerator again as the Range Rover threaded between 2 wrecked private vehicles. In the apocalypse, driving cautiously gets you killed. A quiet moment fell inside the vehicle. Cheng Mingyuan glanced toward Zhang Na. Though soft, spoken, the fitness instructor had not flinched in the face of mortal danger. Their team had gained yet another reliable, capable member. Once they left the cultural center district, total chaos unfolded across the city streets. Vehicles were wrecked at intersections. Several cars burned, thick black smoke billowing skyward. Civilians ran in panic. Some carried children, others dragged suitcases trying to flee the city. People huddled inside storefronts screaming. Zombies chased down survivors, blood and corpses littering the pavement. A police car raced past in the opposite direction. Officers leaned out of windows firing at pursuing zombies. In the distance, armored vehicles and tanks rolled through the city. Large-scale military deployments had begun. Staring out the windows at the military hardware, Lin Xiaoxue wore a somber expression. The full military has been mobilized. The government will not abandon City S. Yi Yuhang watched the road ahead, his tone steady and unemotional. City S is one of the country's core economic hubs. Naturally, the military will prioritize its defense. Cheng Mingyuan spoke quietly. With so many soldiers, tanks, and armored vehicles, can't they hold the city? They cannot, Yi Yuhang replied bluntly. They still have not identified the root source of the infection. The zombie virus is not only transmitted through bites. The entire municipal water supply has become contaminated. Every woman in the car paled upon hearing this. Chen Meiqi twisted the hem of her clothing, voice tight with anxiety. The scope of water contamination is enormous. The military cannot possibly resolve it quickly. Things will only keep getting worse. Yi Yuhang turned toward Zhang Na. Head back to Golden Lake Hotel. Without asking further questions, Zhang Na turned the steering wheel, and the Range Rover sped toward their destination. Security around Golden Lake Hotel had been drastically reinforced. Military vehicles were parked all around the building. Hundreds of soldiers patrolled the grounds. Several nearby financial high-rises were cordoned off. Barricades blocked the roads, and every incoming vehicle was stopped for inspection. Loudspeakers repeated official announcements on loop. This zone is under temporary administrative control. Exit permitted, entry prohibited. As the Range Rover neared the hotel gates, several soldiers raised their rifles and waved the vehicle to halt. Stop the car. All occupants, exit for inspection. Yi Yuhang pushed open his door and walked toward the lead soldier. Frowning, the soldier signaled his comrades to move closer. Yi Yuhang met his eyes and activated his mental power. We are personnel dispatched by senior officials to handle emergency operations. The soldier froze. He stared at Yi Yuhang for several seconds. The wariness on his face faded away. Personnel dispatched by senior officials. Grant passage. The other soldiers looked confused, but seeing their captain stand aside, they lowered their weapons. Please proceed. The Range Rover drove safely inside the secured zone. The hotel lobby overflowed with refugees. The front desk clerk cowered behind the counter. Her phone flooded with non-stop notifications, social media feeds filled with reports of zombie attacks, military blockades, looted shopping malls, and fallen police stations. There were far too many posts for the authorities to suppress. Seeing Yi Yuhang's group enter despite the lockdown measures, the receptionist's expression shifted. She hurried forward with greatly increased deference. Mr. Yi, you have returned. Your presidential suite has been kept ready. Allow me to lead you upstairs. Lead the way. They took the elevator to the top floor. Once the door closed behind them, Su Shanshan collapsed onto a sofa, completely drained. Cheng Mingyuan took off her shoes and massaged her sore ankles. Chen Meiqi leaned against the wall, still catching her breath. Zhang Na stood before the floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing silently out over the city. The outside world is no longer safe. I do not want to go back out there, she said quietly. Su Shanshan nodded in agreement. We almost got trapped and killed inside the cultural center today. Soldiers are guarding this hotel. We should stay here for now. Cheng Mingyuan also looked toward Yi Yuhang. Risking supply runs is becoming more and more dangerous. Yi Yuhang did not argue. The hotel was temporarily safe, yet that safety would not last. By earliest dawn the next day, massive zombie hordes would sweep across the whole city. No hotel, no military force, no barricades would hold against the tide. He looked over at the women. Wash yourselves, eat something, and regain your strength. We rest tonight. It was 3 o'clock in the early morning by the time everyone finished showering. None of them used tap water from the hotel. Instead, they heated bottled water taken from spatial storage. Su Shanshan wore loose bathrobes, her hair still damp. Cheng Mingyuan had changed out of her formal clothes and put on sneakers Su Shanshan had given her. Zhang Na had washed away all traces of blood and dirt, the constant tension in her body easing slightly. Chen Meiqi sat on the edge of a sofa wrapped in a bathrobe, looking troubled. Yi Yuhang passed out bread and canned food taken from storage. Eat and get some rest. Tomorrow will be even harder. Chen Meiqi breathed out in quiet relief. Yi Yuhang had been exhausted from a full day of travel and the brutal fight against the zombie horde inside the cultural center. He had no bandwidth to consider anything beyond survival. He needed to conserve his strength and stamina for the incoming zombie horde. There were only 2 bedrooms in the presidential suite. Su Shanshan, Cheng Mingyuan, Chen Meiqi, and Zhang Na moved into the secondary bedroom. Lin Xiaoxue still shared the master bedroom with Yi Yuhang. Recalling what had happened the night before, heat rose to her cheeks, yet she raised no objection. The group ate a quick meal, and soon the lights in the room went out. Yi Yuhang lay down and quickly fell asleep. Lin Xiaoxue stayed wide awake. Sitting by the floor-to-ceiling window, she held a Desert Eagle in her hand and kept her eyes fixed on the military defense line down below. At 5 o'clock in the early morning, shrill gunshots tore through the night. Dense gunfire erupted beneath the hotel, mixed with the roars of zombies and the screams of civilians. Yi Yuhang's eyes flew open in an instant. Lin Xiaoxue turned around, her expression grim. More than 20 zombies have appeared downstairs. The defending troops have eliminated them, but 1 police officer got scratched. Yi Yuhang walked over to the window. Beneath the hotel lights, several soldiers surrounded the fallen officer. Someone pulled out an antibody syringe and jabbed it straight into his arm. Seconds later, the officer's body began to convulse. Black veins bulged across his neck, and his eyes rapidly turned bloodshot. The antibody doesn't work. Someone shouted from below. The police officer scrambled abruptly to his feet and lunged at the nearest soldier. Bang! An officer pulled the trigger. A bullet struck the man squarely between the eyebrows, and his body collapsed at the hotel entrance. Silence briefly fell outside once the gunfire stopped. But Lin Xiaoshua's expression did not soften. She pointed toward Jinhu Bridge. Yi Yuhang, look over there. On the streets in the distance, countless dark figures gathered. Thousands of zombies packed the bridge and road, advancing toward Jinhu Hotel. They moved slowly, yet their numbers kept swelling. Lin Xiaoshua's knuckles whitened around her gun grip. This isn't a scattering of stray zombies. It's a zombie horde. Staring at the oncoming horde, Yi Yuhang remained calm. Zombies possess no intelligence, yet they home in on loud noises and large-scale buildings. Over 1,000 people are staying inside this hotel. There is far too much commotion. They have set their sights on this place. Lin Xiaoshua caught her breath. Hundreds of ordinary survivors remained trapped inside Jinhu Hotel, and the defending soldiers were few in number. Once the horde reached the hotel gates, no one would be able to hold them back. Yi Yuhang turned toward the secondary bedroom. Wake up. Everyone get up. Grab your weapons. Awoken by gunshots, Su Shanshan and the others hurriedly pulled on their clothes. Zhang Na picked up an AK-47. Cheng Mingyuan massaged her throbbing temples. Shen Meiqi stuffed medical supplies into her backpack. Su Shanshan paled. Where do we retreat to? Before the group could reach the door, zombie growls echoed in the hallway, followed by panicked cries from hotel guests. Stay away. Help. Somebody please help me. Boom. Heavy thuds sounded against the door. Zombies had already gotten inside the hotel. All escape routes were completely blocked. Holding her AK-47, Su Shanshan went deathly pale. Even with 7-fold physical enhancement and a firearm in her hands, fear still gripped her first and foremost. Yi Yuhang looked at the group. Stay calm. We have 7-fold physical attributes. I possess 14-fold stats. Unlimited ammunition, healing abilities, mental manipulation, an underground shelter, and spatial storage are all at our disposal. These zombies cannot trap us. Lin Xiaoshua took a deep breath and raised her gun first. Zhang Na stepped to Yi Yuhang's side. Cheng Mingyuan gritted her teeth and refocused her mind. Though Chen Meiqi's face stayed pale, her hands stopped shaking. Yi Yuhang scanned the presidential suite. Chaos had consumed the hotel, and the soldiers down below could no longer offer protection for the top floor. Nothing usable here ought to be left for the horde. Collect supplies. Take everything you possibly can. Su Shanshan immediately opened a spatial portal. Yi Yuhang summoned his own black spatial rift. Sofas, coffee tables, televisions, refrigerators, and air conditioners vanished one after another. The master bedroom bed, mattresses, wardrobes, tables, chairs, and home appliances were all stowed inside spatial storage. Drawing on their 7-fold strength, Lin Xiaoshua and Zhang Na heaved heavy pieces of furniture toward the portal. Cheng Mingyuan opened cabinet doors and storage closets. Shen Meiqi gathered tableware, cookware, and leftover food from the kitchen. 10 minutes later, the presidential suite stood completely bare. Gunfire from the floors below grew sparser and sparser. The military detachment originally stationed at the hotel had begun to pull out. Military vehicles raced down the streets, drawing away part of the horde while abandoning all survivors inside the hotel. Drawn by screams and crashing noises from within, more zombies flooded into the building. Shen Meiqi stared at zombie shadows drawing closer outside the doorway, her palms soaked in sweat. Yi Yuhang's expression never shifted. He held every major advantage needed to keep himself safe amid the apocalyptic disaster. Standing at the emergency stairwell entrance, he observed the accumulating zombie shadows below for a moment. Zombies won't make it up here anytime soon. He turned toward the women. We have at least 2 hours of safety on the top floor. Keep gathering supplies. Suppressing her earlier nervousness, Su Shanshan reopened the spatial portal. Then we strip this entire floor bare. Zhang Yu nodded in agreement. Our shelter has living quarters, but we still lack enough beds and furniture. Let's finish clearing out the presidential suites first. Yi Yuhang gestured toward the far end of the hallway. Leave nothing usable behind. The women sprang into action. Drawing on their enhanced physiques, Lin Xiaoshua and Zhang Na carried heavy beds out of rooms. Cheng Mingyuan unlocked doors and cabinets. Shen Meiqi cleared out kitchens and bathrooms, and Su Shanshan stood beside the portal, handling storage. The first presidential suite was emptied quickly. Sofas, tables, refrigerators, televisions, air conditioners, mattresses, wardrobes, and carpets, along with every pot and dish from the kitchen. The second and third suites suffered the same fate. Once all three were cleared, 6 beds, 6 mattresses, More than a dozen sofas and a large haul of home appliances went into storage. Watching furniture vanish into the portal, Zhang Yu spoke up. 6 beds. That can comfortably sleep 12 people. Yi Yuhang nodded. Our group will keep growing. It pays to prepare ahead of time. Wiping sweat off her forehead, Su Shanshan gave a faint smile. Back in the old world, staying in a presidential suite was luxury. Now we are just here to haul furniture away. Carrying a solid wood table out of a room, Zhang Na spoke bluntly. Quit chatting. There are more rooms next door. The group soon reached the far end of the hallway. The door to Suite 05 stood slightly ajar, and a young woman's hurried voice drifted out. Stop posting those frightening comments. I've locked my door. Troops are stationed outside the hotel. Everything should be fine. Yi Yuhang held the others back and peered through the crack. A livestream stand sat in the middle of the living room. A young girl huddled on the sofa, clutching a baseball bat. Bullet comments scrolled non-stop across her phone screen. Dressed in pink and white rabbit themed loungewear, she was tall with delicate features, her rabbit ear hood slipping crookedly to one side. Her name was Shun Yi. At 19, she worked as a gaming streamer. She had paid a premium to book a room at Jinhu Hotel before the apocalypse broke out, believing the military presence and ample supplies would let her hold out until official rescue arrived. Yet gunfire and zombie roars outside had shattered her last shreds of hope. 6,000 viewers remained in her live stream. You bow, don't open the door for anyone. It isn't safe inside the hotel either. Barricade your room right away. Gunshots are getting louder. Infected people are roaming my neighborhood already. Stay brave, streamer. We are all watching. Shen Yi was about to reply when a deafening crash shook the door. Boom. The door shuddered violently. Shen Yi flinched and backed away, still gripping her baseball bat. Who's there? Boom. A second blow struck, and the lock snapped completely. 3 men stumbled into the room and slammed the door shut behind them. The leader was a bald man wearing a thick gold chain around his neck, sweating profusely. The other 2 looked equally disheveled, blood staining their clothes, clearly having fled all the way here. Gasping for breath, the bald man relaxed for a split second before his gaze landed on Shun Yi. He froze. The livestream camera was still running. Her loungewear, striking looks, and gift notifications flashing across the screen caught his full attention. He licked his lips. Aren't you that popular live stream girl? Shun Yi tightened her grip on the bat and pressed her back against the wall. Get out. This is my room. The bald man did not move. Instead, he sneered. Monsters are everywhere outside. You want us to go out and get killed? Glancing at the active live stream, the yellow-haired man smirked. The stream is still on. 6,000 people watching. What a spectacle. The comment section exploded. Damn it. What are those 3 men planning to do? Call for help. Run, streamer. Where is hotel security? Where are the soldiers? Reading the flood of comments, Shen Yi felt no real sense of safety. She lifted the baseball bat, her voice trembling. 6,000 people are watching this live. You cannot get away with hurting me. The bald man let out a scornful laugh. So what if they see it? The old rules don't mean anything anymore. He stepped forward. The world has ended. People do whatever they want now. The yellow-haired man advanced as well, his tone growing bolder. You always knew how to entertain people on stream. Keep that up for us. Shen Yi's face drained of color, her hands shaking around her bat. Just as the bald man moved closer, the half-open door was kicked wide open. Yi Yuhang stepped into the suite first. Lin Xiaoxue followed close behind, pressing the muzzle of her gun against the bald man's temple. Zhang Yu, Su Shanshan, Cheng Mingyuan, Chen Meiqi, and Zhang Na filed inside. 6 women of strikingly different appearances walked in all at once. Both the livestream audience and the 3 men were stunned. Comments froze for several seconds before scrolling wildly. What is going on? One guy with 6 beautiful women? That short-haired woman has a gun. The streamer is saved. Cold sweat broke out on the bald man's forehead, and he slowly raised both hands. Easy there. This is all a misunderstanding. Lin Xiaoxue did not shift her gun. Speak again. Swallowing hard, all arrogance vanished from the bald man's face. We only came here seeking shelter. We didn't do anything. Shen Yi spoke at once. He is lying. She pointed toward the 3 men, her voice regaining strength. They forced their way into my room. They said nothing can stop them now that society has collapsed and threatened to harm me. Lin Xiaoxue's expression turned icy. Yi Yuhang, what should we do with them? Yi Yuhang did not answer immediately. His eyes fell on the livestream stand. The monitor stayed lit, 6,000 viewers sending non-stop messages. He had only intended to strip this suite of supplies and shut off the stream, when a system prompt popped up. Name, Shen Yi. Age, 19. Occupation, Gaming streamer. Team compatibility, 98%. Yi Yuhang's eyebrows rose. 98%. Another top-tier compatibility rating. He could not guess what power a gaming streamer might awaken, yet the system rating was reliable. He looked towards Shun-Yi. I am giving you two choices. Hugging her baseball bat, Shun-Yi looked up at him. 1. Join my group. 2. Stay here and wait for zombies to break through the door. Shun-Yi did not hesitate for long. This man and his companions could move freely amid hordes of the undead. They carried firearms and wielded spatial powers. Alone inside this hotel, she would not survive even one more night. I will join you. Ding. Shun-Yi has officially joined the team. Name, Shun-Yi. Age, 19. Talent, Item Awakening, Item Manipulation LV.1. Ability, Conjure real, world objects into game-style combat forms. One unit may be summoned at a time, lasting 2 hours, and can be manually controlled in battle. All 8 team members now receive 8-fold physical enhancement. Captain Yi Yuhang receives double, stacked 16-fold enhancement. A surge of power washed over every person present. Shun-Yi nearly dropped her baseball bat. Exhaustion melted away, her breathing steadied, and she felt boundless energy inside her body. Lin Xiaoxua flexed her fingers, surprise crossing her face. My strength has increased again. Zhang Na walked over to a solid wood cabinet, placed her palm against it, and gave a light push. The heavy cabinet slid several meters and crashed against the opposite wall. Su Shanshan's mouth fell open. 8-fold physique. I could easily carry a full-sized bed now. Observing everyone's reaction and seeing the floating system panel, Shun-Yi's fear faded. This group was no ordinary band of survivors. Yi Yuhang was their core. Su Shanshan walked beside Shun-Yi and lowered her voice. Your talent is bound to the team. If you betray the leader and get expelled, all these enhanced abilities will disappear. Shun-Yi nodded quickly, speaking earnestly to Yi Yuhang. I won't betray you. I will follow your orders from now on. Meanwhile, the 3 men had turned deathly pale. They had expected to break into a room occupied only by a female streamer, never anticipating a heavily armed gifted squad. The bald man's voice shook. Sir, we truly didn't hurt anyone. Spare us. We will stay out of your way. The yellow-haired man was close to tears. We only panicked and acted recklessly out of fear. Lin Xiaoxua turned to Yi Yuhang. How should we deal with them? Yi Yuhang let Shun-Yi make the call. They threatened you. The decision is yours. Shun-Yi stared at the 3 men. Fear, humiliation, and helplessness still weighed heavy on her heart. She clenched her fists and stepped toward the bald man, who flinched backward, only to be pinned in place by Lin Xiaoxua's gun. Shun-Yi slapped him hard across the cheek. A bright red mark bloomed instantly, and blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. She struck him a second time. His head snapped sideways, and he dared not lift a hand to defend himself. Panting, eyes glistening, Shun-Yi spoke. People like you do not deserve to live. Still, she could not bring herself to deliver a killing blow. Glancing out into the hallway, Su Shanshan offered a suggestion to Yi Yuhang. Killing them ourselves is too lenient. Throw them outside to draw the zombies away from this floor. Terror washed over the 3 men. No, don't send us out there. We will be torn apart. Cheng Mingyuan stepped forward, massaging her throbbing temples. Leave this to me. She activated level 3 mental manipulation. The 3 men stiffened all at once, their gazes turning vacant. Staring straight at them, she spoke slowly and deliberately. Leave this room. Run down the stairs. Shout as loud as you can. Draw every zombie toward you. In unison, they repeated the command. Draw every zombie toward us. Yi Yuhang pulled the door open. The 3 men sprinted out into the hallway and screamed at the top of their lungs. Over here. Come after us. Zombies in the hallway responded to the noise. 1, 2, then more turned and gave chase. The 3 men raced down the emergency stairwell, a growing horde hot on their heels. Roars from the top floor gradually receded into the distance. Shun-Yi stood in the doorway watching them leave, her face ashen. Cheng Mingyuan said quietly, they cannot possibly survive. Before long, agonized screams echoed up from the lower floors. They lasted only a few seconds before being replaced by guttural zombie growls. The 3 men had turned. Even after infection, the mental compulsion lingered, forcing them to keep running and shouting. Once they merged with the horde, their cries no longer drew extra attention. Silence settled over the top floor. Yi Yuhang turned to Shun-Yi. Test your ability. Shun-Yi blinked in confusion. How? Yi Yuhang pointed toward the living room computer. Touch it. Visualize a familiar game combat unit in your mind. Taking a deep breath, Shun Yi walked over and laid her hand on the computer tower. She pictured the transforming combat robots from her favorite game. The whir of grinding metal echoed through the suite. Cracks spread across the computer casing. Components twisted and rearranged themselves. The monitor, keyboard, and chassis broke apart and reformed. Shun Yi stepped backward, holding her breath. A 1-meter tall cybernetic combat robot stood in the center of the living room, its metallic surface glinting coldly. Twin Gatling cannons were mounted on its arms. Glowing red optical sensors lit up on its head, and its heavy metal feet crumpled the edges of the carpet. Zhang Yu stood frozen, lost for words. Chen Meiqi covered her mouth in shock. Lin Xiaoxue's breathing quickened as she stared at the Gatling guns. Can that thing fire? Still stunned by her own doing, Shun Yi lifted her hand. The robot turned its head, leveling its cannons forward, mirroring every small movement of her arm. I can control it, Shun Yi said shakily. Transforming robots are my favorite game units, so that is what my mind summoned. Yi Yuhang studied the robot. Item awakening and game manifestation could turn an ordinary desktop computer into a powerful combat mech. It only lasted 2 hours per summon and vanished upon destruction, yet those 2 hours of firepower would let their team cut through most zombie swarms. Yi Yuhang tallied their available firearms, 2 AK-47s and 2 Desert Eagles, plus another AK-47 and Desert Eagle retrieved by Lin Xiaoxue. 6 guns in total. Excluding Yi Yuhang, 7 women made up the team, meaning 1 person would go unarmed. Su Shanshan picked up a Desert Eagle first. Heavy recoil, but simple enough to handle. I will take this. Lin Xiaoxue grabbed an AK-47 and fetched 6 extra magazines from the ammo stockpile. I will handle long-range suppression. Zhang Na, Zhang Yu, and Chun Meiqi each took one of the remaining firearms. Cheng Mingyuan stepped back voluntarily. I need to preserve focus for mental manipulation. Give the gun to someone who needs it more. Shun Yi shook her head gently. I have to stay focused piloting the mech. Yi Yuhang picked up the final AK-47 and checked its magazine. The cybernetic robot stood nearby, motors humming, ready for battle. He returned the rifle to spatial storage and assigned roles. Lin Xiaoxue will be our main firepower. Chen Meiqi stays beside her, handling magazine swaps. Holding her AK-47 firmly, Lin Xiaoxue nodded. Understood. If zombies close in, I will clear our path. Standing close by, Chen Meiqi clutched spare magazines. Though still nervous with a gun in her hands, she did not flinch. Shen Yi, send your robot to lead the charge. Yi Yuhang turned to Cheng Mingyuan, speaking quickly. Cheng Mingyuan, save mental manipulation for critical moments. Do not waste it. Su Shanshan stick close to the group. You manage supplies and emergency gear. Su Shanshan patted her backpack and nodded seriously. I will not fall behind. Lastly, Yi Yuhang handed a Desert Eagle to Zhang Na. Take this. Once we get downstairs, locate a vehicle similar to the Range Rover we used before. Get it ready and lead the evacuation. Taking the pistol, Zhang Na's cheeks flushed faintly. I understand. She glanced down at the Desert Eagle and added quietly. Last time I made a mistake and modified it into a 2-seater sports car. It won't happen again. Yi Yuhang nodded and pulled open the suite door. Let's move out. Jinhu Hotel was no longer a place of refuge. Gunfire had fallen silent downstairs. The military had pulled out. Yet survivors' screams persisted. Crashing sounds, running footsteps, and zombie growls echoed through every corridor. More people turned after drinking the hotel tap water, their bodies racked by fever and convulsions. Some rushed out of their rooms screaming for help, only to lunge at their loved ones moments later. Down one hallway, a man stumbled out clutching his neck. Help! I got scratched. Does anyone have medicine? He collapsed mid-stride, convulsing violently. A middle-aged woman ran toward him, sobbing, trying to pull him upright. Honey, don't do this to me. The man snapped his head upward, eyes rolled back, and sank his teeth into her arm. Her scream drew zombies pouring out of nearby broken, open rooms, lured by fresh blood. Yi Yuhang did not look back. Run! Shun Yi raised her hand. The cybernetic robot sprinted out of the presidential suite first. Metal feet thudding across carpet, its Gatling barrels spinning rapidly. Around the stairwell corner, a zombie lunged forward. Lin Xiaoxue fired without hesitation. Bang! The bullet pierced its forehead. As the corpse slumped to the ground, she hurried after the team, keeping her gun aimed forward. Stairwell is temporarily safe. Move fast. Yi Yuhang led the way into the emergency staircase. Zhang Na followed right behind him. Cheng Mingyuan kept close to Su Shanshan, while Chen Meiqi stayed beside Lin Xiaoxue. Careful not to step outside cover, the group descended to the 36th floor stair landing. Shen Yi, clear the path. Got it. Shen Yi lifted her right hand. The robot charged down the stairs. 3 wandering zombies heard the noise and lunged toward it. Flames burst from the spinning Gatling barrels. Rattling gunfire echoed through the stairwell. Bullets tore through the 3 zombies, sending their bodies tumbling down the steps. Biting her lip, Shen Yi continuously adjusted her hand movements. All the controls she had mastered playing video games now controlled a real, World War machine. Every turn and burst of fire followed her commands. Still, the deafening roar of the Gatling drew unwanted attention. Behind the fire exit door on the 32nd floor, hoarse roars soon echoed out. Bang! Bang bang! Doors kept being smashed open. A horde of zombies charged down the corridor toward the stairwell. Their heavy footsteps weighed like a stone on everyone's chest. They're coming. Su Shanshan glanced downward, her face draining of color at once. Lin Xiaoxue did not hesitate. She spun around and dashed to the fire exit door. Give me a hand. Zhang Na rushed over immediately. Both women strained with all their strength to pull the door shut. Bang! The moment the door clicked closed, frantic blows hammered against it from outside. The door panel shook non-stop. Blood-stained arms stretched through the narrow gaps. Lin Xiaoxue snapped the lock tight and snapped at the group in a low voice. Don't stop. Keep moving down. Yi Yuhang led the group, sprinting downward. The robot charged at the very front the whole time. Any straggling zombie that poked its head out in the stairwell was mown down by its Gatling gun. 1 floor, 2 floors, 10 floors. Descending non-stop made the women dizzy, their legs growing heavier by the second. Chen Meiqi leaned against the wall, gasping for breath, sweat beading all over her forehead. If we keep running like this, I won't be able to hold on much longer. Zhang Na gritted her teeth and supported her. Keep going. Stop and we die. A bestial roar boomed from above. The horde finally smashed through the fire exit door. Dozens of zombies came thundering down the stairs. Several fast, moving ones in the lead had already crossed 2 flights of steps. Cheng Mingyuan glanced over her shoulder, her face pale. Boss, they're catching up. Hold the front 3 back. Yi Yuhang ordered instantly. Cheng Mingyuan pressed both palms to her temples and unleashed her full power mental control. The 3 leading zombies froze abruptly. They twisted stiffly around, grabbed one another's arms, and jammed themselves tightly inside the narrow stairwell. More zombies behind kept surging downward. The first trapped zombie snapped its jaws and bit its own kind. The second was crushed out of shape, yet still held its ground. The third had its arm trampled off by the crowd behind, yet refused to let go. Hurry! Cheng Mingyuan's voice grew faint, the veins on her forehead bulging. Yi Yuhang led the group down 3 more flights. Bodies littered the stairwell. The robot kept firing ahead, its mechanical gun barrels never ceasing. It cut through wave after wave of enemies far faster than anyone had expected. Staring at the small, continuously firing robot, Yi Yuhang felt deep shock. With this machine alone, there might be a real chance to wipe out the 1,000+ zombies inside the hotel. The group finally reached the ground floor lobby. Yet the second they stepped out of the emergency exit, everyone froze. The hotel lobby was packed full of zombies. Front desk staff, cleaners, security guards, and hotel guests roamed across the hall. Some wore pajamas, others still dragged suitcases. Blood and scattered belongings covered the floor. At least 70 to 80 zombies blocked the exits. Lin Xiaoxue tightened her grip on her gun and spoke in a hushed tone. Breaking out will be tough. Zhang Na frowned as well. Our vehicle is outside, but the exit is completely blocked. Yi Yuhang turned to Shen Yi. Have the robot draw them away. Shen Yi stared at the Cyber Titan robot, looking torn. This machine had transformed from a gaming laptop she had bought for over 20,000 yuan. If zombies swarmed and destroyed the laptop, she would lose one of her most critical trump cards granted by her superhuman gift. Still, she looked at her companions, then at the lobby exit. I'll do it. Shen Yi raised her hand. The robot sprinted out of the stairwell into the main hall. Its twin Gatling guns opened fire at full blast. Rat, a tat, tat, tat. More than a dozen zombies at the front were cut down. Every zombie in the lobby whirled around, roaring and surging toward the robot. Shen Yi guided it to dodge constantly across the hall, evading lunges while aiming fire at zombie legs and heads. One zombie after another collapsed. Drawn entirely by the gunfire, far more abandoned the exit and gave chase to the robot. Now, Yi Yuhang barked the command. All 7 burst out of the hotel. The parking lot outside was momentarily clear. Every nearby zombie was occupied chasing the robot. None turned toward them. Yi Yuhang and Zhang Na ran over to a BMW 3 Series. This one, Zhang Na placed her palm against the car body. Here, grinding noises echoed from within. The BMW underwent constant transformation. Its chassis rose, doors widened, and its front and rear sections were rapidly reinforced. Seconds later, a black Range Rover stood before them. Zhang Na pulled open the door with a serious expression. "Get in." Everyone scrambled aboard. Barely had the engine started when more than a dozen zombies poured out from the hotel side entrance and lunged at the SUV. Lin Xiaoxue rolled down her window and rested an AK-47 on the window frame. Bang, bang, bang. Shot after shot blew apart the heads of every blocking zombie. Zhang Na slammed her foot onto the accelerator. The Range Rover rocketed out of the parking lot, swung its rear in to bash aside lunging zombies, and roared onto the main road. Zombies swarmed everywhere along the streets. Blows did not stop them. Knocked down ones clambered right back to their feet. The Range Rover plowed through several hordes, leaving dents all over its bumper and doors. The road ahead is blocked. Zhang Na's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel as she stared at the mass of zombies gathering ahead. Shin Yi spoke at once. "I'm recalling the robot." She lifted her hand. Far inside the lobby, the robot spun sharply, smashed through the glass doors, and burst outside. It scrambled up walls with amazing agility and landed atop the Range Rover's roof seconds later. Its twin-barreled Gatling locked onto the road ahead. Rat, a tat, tat, tat. Zombies blocking the path fell one after another under fire. Gunshots boomed continuously from the roof, while the SUV accelerated faster and faster. Seizing the chance, Zhang Na floored the gas pedal. The vehicle cleared the Golden Lake Hotel premises and turned onto Golden Lake Avenue. Only when the hotel vanished far behind them did Su Shanshan slump back against her seat, gasping heavily. That was absolutely insane. Leaning against the window, Cheng Mingyuan still looked pale, yet wore a faint smile. "I always thought escape levels in video games were wildly over the top." Shin Yi glanced upward toward the roof. Feeling new, found confidence. Their team had sharp shooter Lin Xiaoxue, herself piloting the robot, Cheng Mingyuan for mental crowd control, Zhang Na behind the wheel, and Yi Yuhang leading them. Everyone filled a vital role. Their fighting strength surpassed any survivor group she had ever seen. Seated in the front passenger seat, Yi Yuhang was also satisfied. Barely having unlocked their supernatural talents, they had pulled off such smooth teamwork on their very first mission. As they leveled up and advanced further, their combat power would skyrocket. Driving onward, Zhang Na asked, "Boss, where to next?" "Back to our accommodation." Yi Yuhang opened his team leader interface to check Zhang Yu's status. Her health bar was full. She was unharmed. "First we pick Zhang Yu up and bring her to the shelter." The navigation system still functioned. Yi Yuhang marked their destination, and Zhang Na turned the wheel accordingly. All across the city, chaos reigned. Roads were jammed with crashed vehicles. Screams, car, horn blares, and gunshots blended together. Some people huddled inside shops holding their children. Others smashed open store shutters to grab supplies. Countless survivors ran for their lives, pursued by hordes of the undead. Official radio broadcasts kept repeating evacuation announcements, yet almost no one on the streets still believed them. When they passed Ocean Mall, Yi Yuhang told Zhang Na to pull over. Military defense lines had long been withdrawn. No guards patrolled outside the mall. Inside, only scattered zombies remained alongside looted, broken shelves. "Su Shanshan, come inside with me." The two hurried into the shopping center. Nearly 2/3 of all remaining supplies were stored inside spatial storage. Water, grain, canned food, frozen goods, medicine, and daily necessities. Hardly anything was left behind. 15 minutes later, the Range Rover set off again. When they reached their residential compound, the gate post stood abandoned. A handful of zombies roamed along the roads. Lin Xiaoxue leaned out the window and eliminated the nearby threats with a few well-placed shots.